Yes! Yes, 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 yes! That was a goal! Goal! Striker! Eat that! And another! Bing bang, stick it in. Thank you and good night.
Twat! That was liquid football!
Shit! Did you see that? He must have a foot like a traction engine. Goal!
Hello everybody, it's your old friends at Monday Madness and welcome to the latest episode of the Liquid Football Podcast, a podcast where we're getting about anything that's happened in the world of football. Well, we are now pretty much a week and a bit removed from the World Cup final where Spain were crowned world champions in what a lot of people have considered to be a victory for football after the shenanigans of the Argentinian team in the final. But myself and Aaron are going to be talking about everything that's happened in that final, what the consequences of it, how did Spain get there in the first place, their emphatic success against France, Argentina's dramatic win against England, and all the other stories from the World Cup as well. Included in that, we have ourselves the construction of the team of the competition with one player per country, which would make things quite spicy indeed. And we also have ourselves a little stat attack, some questions that are based off the goings-on at the World Cup. And then finally, we dish out some CODs at the end, because there's only two of us, but we're going to do multiple CODs just to fill out the segment more than anything else. But all that and more on this episode of the Liquid Football Podcast.
Goal!
Yeah, this is officially our World Cup Roundup podcast. We've given ourselves a week to digest what was perhaps the most tedious game of football you're ever going to see in your life. I fair to say doesn't really hold the candle to the final that we had 4 years ago. That kind of lost the run of itself. Any player that scores a hat-trick and ends up on the losing side will probably tell you that that was quite a final to remember. This is not the case today, or this year I should say, but Aaron, we've given ourselves a week to kind of like to let the dust settle, to let the kind of the cards fall after this whole tournament. Spain are the world champions. They are the first ever country to both be the champion of men's and women's football at their respective World Cups. We'll see if they'll defend that trophy. Yep, they are the first.
Cool. That's actually kind of cool, to be honest.
Yeah, I will double check my facts to make sure that is correct, but yes, I believe that is the case. So they'll obviously be defending that next year at the Women's World Cup. But I suppose we'll start off at the final.
To be fair, well, at that point, this is just give up football. They've completed it. They've done the J thing from the in-betweeners. Completed it, mate. It's don't do any more now.
It's quite reminiscent of like the proverbial golden generation of Spain had, or at least certainly the midfield. That sort of like very Barcelona heavy national team that they had that I think went 2 Euros and the World Cup back to back until they had that like incredible collapse in the was it in Russia or was it in Brazil that they had that collapse? I think it was in Russia, I think, wasn't it?
It was Russia because Brazil is where they won it.
Yeah, that's right. But so now they're back on the top spot. This is like as hard coded as Spain are into at least modern football. This is only their second time actually winning the tournament outright. But I suppose that's kind of like perhaps a remark on where we can go in terms of the conversation afterwards. But as World Cup finals, we both experienced a couple. Fair to say we're not going to miss this one. But what were your major kind of talking points coming out of the final, if there were any at all?
I don't want to go down that rabbit hole as well. It was fixed for Argentina to win.
Yeah.
I like Messi. Every other player on that Argentinian team, I hope they die in a fire. If they
including
won,
your own Lisandro Martinez.
I mean, at this point, it might help his back. I don't fucking know. Sorry, no. What did he blow again? His knee.
Yeah.
It's not like we have him anyway. His fucking knee hasn't been right since that one game against Athletic Bilbao 3 years ago. So, I mean, I watched it, but do you know what? Gone to my head, I think I probably remember the final beforehand much better. I just not much that I can come out of it going. Messi, they managed to neutralize Messi, which is quite impressive even at 39, considering what he's done in this World Cup. Honestly, I remember more the third place playoff, which is mad to say, really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when there's 10 goals in that game, it's kind of easy
Yeah,
to forget,
that does
you
help.
know?
But
Yeah,
like if you had the third place payoff and the last final that we had,
yeah.
I probably would have forgotten the third place playoff considering what happened in the final. Whereas this
Mm,
one is just like it was fine. Spain probably deserved to win it overall. I'd be really hard pressed to find anyone who was like, you know, dying going up that like no one would have expected Spain to win. I think they all would have expected them to go far, but winning it would have been a bit too a step beyond with Morocco and
yeah.
France and England and even Argentina themselves. But I think I kind of believe they were going to win it when they managed to absolutely hamstring France.
Yeah, yeah. I think
Like
that
they
was,
came out of that
yeah.
hole. That was like the moment we were just like, oh, fuck, they actually might actually. England definitely won't beat them. They
Mm.
might beat the Argentinians. Just the voodoo is not on. But I mean, yeah, fucking fantastic. Good for
Yeah,
them.
it's curious, isn't it? Because like I think we're all guilty on this podcast, certainly underestimating how good Spain actually are. Because again, there's a lot of people who would have been kind of tipping France to win the World Cup, including ourselves, and then also Argentina to get to the final. Um, we're all kind of like and again, I'll hold my hands up here and say we all kind of like neglected to kind of like to include that Spain have been undefeated in nearly 30 plus competitive games.
But
Up to
that
that
see
point,
the
they
thing
had
is
not
as
conceded a
well that
goal in the competition.
but that can happen to a lot of teams going into a tournament and then they just
Yep.
absolutely capitulate once they get to the knockouts. But they didn't. They kept
Mm.
going.
Yeah.
And I think what probably caught up to Argentina as well was all the late winners they got.
Yeah.
They probably had it dug into their heads that sure if we're behind with 10 minutes to go, it doesn't really matter. Like we
Mm.
can do this. Very reminiscent of Fergie's United, to be honest.
Yeah, they
Somehow
were
we're
certainly
losing
pulling
at
on
90
that
minutes.
quite a bit. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
certainly we're losing at 90 minutes and we end up coming out with the win. You're like, what the fuck happened
Yeah.
here? What
Well,
was
it's
that
certainly in
one?
the like they as you said, like they had literally pulled that card three times in the knockouts. Like the Cape
Yeah.
Verde was certainly like we should not have been in this situation to begin with. I think in the Egypt one they were totally shell shocked and they could really just pinpoint Messi just having an individual like masterclass of getting them across the line. And then with Switzerland, you could probably say, yeah, I know the scoreline was 3-1, but that doesn't tell the whole story. That's was more about Switzerland kind of collapsing in on itself more than anything else. Like if
Yeah.
had Embolo not got sent off, you could argue Switzerland could have easily won the game. So it was the case that like Argentina really were in control of everything. And I think that's a key word for me in this whole tournament is control. Um, because I think that's ultimately how Spain won the World Cup. If we're really looking into it, like I think perhaps because they started off the tournament with a 0-0 against Cape Verde, we were thinking they probably don't have what it takes. I know in the last podcast I was talking about the likes of some players starting to lose their legs, and in a sense they did, but the difference was they had ample like kind of like depth in those positions. So I was talking about
Mm.
Yarazabal kind of being the pinpoint, the focus of the attack. He didn't have a great final, but certainly Ferran Torres, who was a willing deputy, right, was stepped up and scored the goal that ultimately won the whole thing. But control was
And
certainly the biggest aspect of
apparently
that.
Barcelona want to get rid of him too. I'm like,
Well, I'd say
it's
so,
just
yeah, because yeah,
I mean, now granted, they're probably just doing it for the money, which is fair. At this
yes,
point, they're
that's what to
just
say.
getting
Yeah,
the 5 cent behind the couch and going, okay, right, we can pay the electricity, but right, how are we going to sign? How are we going to sign Ferran Torres? Oh, sorry, not Ferran Torres. Alvarez. How are we going to sign
yeah.
Alvarez now? When I find another 10 behind the
Levers.
couch,
Let's pull some more levers.
there's just
Let's
too
sell more
much
of the
levers.
city. Yes. But no, I think like as you said, like the like not only like beating France but making them look incredibly ordinary. I think kind of spoke volumes of like what they were absolutely good at, which was controlling a game. It was they had boxed smarter than all the other teams in the World Cup, and I think that's a reasonable thing. Like when you look at the other
Mm,
teams that are there, a lot of them were down to individual class. I think it really showed in the semi-finalists in that France was very much their front four was the reason that French team worked so well.
yeah,
Like if Mbappe wasn't on form, you had Dembele stepping up, you had Elise, kind of pulling all the strings there, and take your pick between all the other players that they have that could slot into that attack. You had so many options there.
it's
You really were
it
spoiled for choice.
it is a very it's arguably deeper than the last Spanish team.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like,
Yeah.
and that's what's helped them. We basically have at this moment in time, right? If anything can somehow get whatever voodoo they have off them from '66,
Mm,
you have an opportunity to go into the next World Cup with a not England deep team that's so deep, a not
mm.
French team that's deep, and a not Spanish team that's deep. Which I don't. And if Brazil keep going with whatever the fuck is wrong with them, they're not going to win the World Cup. Argentina are definitely not going to win the next World Cup. They're going to hit a slump, I think, for another maybe one or two with Messi being gone. It's going to be hard to kind of shake that off. Um, Portugal don't really have it either, unless they manage to turn something around. Like, there's really no better teams than those. We'll scratch England for a second. There's no better young teams in the world right now than the French and the Spanish team.
I'd agree with that.
And I would imagine going into the next World Cup, I'd be hard pressed to pick any one of the two of them based off of this World Cup.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think it's certainly shown the Euros at least that like that they're still the teams to beat. But again, what's fascinating is that their approaches are so different. Like the French, I think we mentioned a couple of times they don't have like a defined way of playing. What they do have is superstars, and the team is
Yeah.
built around those superstars. Whereas even a Galactico, if I can use that phrase, like Lamine Yamal, like yes, he is the superstar turn in that team, but the best player on that team is Rodri, and he is the fulcrum of the midfield. He is the metronome that keeps that team moving. So it's not necessarily about like being the best attacker or the most explosive player. It's about keeping the machine working, and that to me is what won the tournament for Spain is the fact that like they had everyone all played uh, a style of football that's coherent and consistent, and no one was going into business for themselves, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like England, like ultimately became the Harry Kane and Jude Bellingham show, and when Harry Kane started falling off as he normally does in tournaments, Jude Bellingham stepped up, mainly because Thomas Tuchel just kept annoying him over the process of 2 years. And whether you think that's Thomas
Yeah.
Tuchel making a mistake or just brilliant man management to wind up a clearly, wind upable human being. Obviously that worked up to a certain point. And again, we'll talk about the semi-finals later on, but like England still finished third, which is still the best performance they've done
Since
since they've
'66.
since 1966, and yet it kind of feels like a failure.
Oh,
You know,
did they come? Did they come third the year Robson was in? They come third in
uh,
1990.
no, I don't think they did. I think they got to the quarters in that one.
Did they?
But
No, no, no.
but
They made the semi-final. No, remember the
they
famous things that they made the semi-final, and if Gaza got his boot to that ball that came across the goal line, they probably would have won it. But
mm,
it's like that. That's the pinpoint of that whole tournament for them. No, they definitely made the semi-finals. Whether they won the third place playoff that time, I don't know. I
uh,
think they did.
Well, if what you're thinking of, yeah, so 1990 is what you're thinking of. That was a fourth place finish because
Yeah, yeah.
they
Always a
lost the third
fourth.
place playoff. Yeah.
Did they? Right. Okay.
Yes.
Right. I
So
thought I
this is
thought
the
they finished
yeah.
third in that one.
Yeah.
All
No, it
right.
was
Okay.
1990. You were right. You had the right World Cup and you had the right situation, but they had lost that semi final and they ended up losing the
Mhm.
third place match then as well. Likewise, they repeat that then in the Russian World Cup where they lost to Belgium. So like this third place finish is still the best that they've had. But yeah, that's the other thing. I think like all those other teams didn't have a system like Spain did, and very few teams slash countries do. Um, like the Spanish style is totally defined by possession. It's totally defined by
Mm.
certain people in the game that's told them how to play football and just go from there. And then you had two massive footballing institutions that kind of overshadow the country's footballing system that pumps out players that either play this style or that style, and you can just take your pick. It doesn't matter like where you pick, where you kind of which orchard you pick from. You still get enough players that all speak the same language in that sense. And then not
Mhm.
even that. I think the other aspect of it as well is that the Spanish side from a couple of years ago was very Barca versus Real in a sense. That's all it was. But I think the biggest difference in this team is the sheer amount of Basque influence in it as well. For
Yes,
every
I
yeah.
think that's what generally helps a lot of those mainland Europe teams, and that's what's always hindered England. Like Gary Neville said it, a lot of players have said it before.
Yeah.
everyone fucking hated each other in those England teams. It was the golden
Mm.
generation, but none of them actually liked each other
Yeah.
because of the fact that there was a heavy Man United slant in that team. But when it comes to like Spain, France, Italy, and Germany, even it
Mm.
doesn't matter if the left back plays with Bayern Munich and the centre back is playing next to plays with Dortmund, or if the right back, or if even if France had a goal scorer with Barcelona
Mm.
and he was the best player in the world, Mbappe wouldn't give a shit that he plays with Barcelona because for this match he's playing with France.
Yeah.
And a much more cohesive on national unity, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
than
No,
England ever
absolutely.
were. Because England only ever worked off of the whole 66 thing, but they
Mm.
never really actually seem like they want to. Either A, they don't want to break it, or B, they can't because they're on at each other's fucking throats. They put the club over country a lot of the time. I think is what I'm trying to
Well.
say. If they can get a manager in that can just go, it doesn't matter if he plays at United and he plays at Liverpool and that fella up front plays with Chelsea. He's playing with
Mm.
England, Now, as an Irishman, would probably want to continue. But if you're England, you just be like, we need to fucking stop this and move on. Like, because this is the team on paper that should have won the World Cup.
Mm.
Is the strongest chance they had since 1990 because they never really had a chance for the golden generation.
Yeah.
So going into the next one, you kind of have to do it. But again, are they going to replace Harry Kane? Because he ain't going to be at the next World Cup. And if he is, it's going to be very much a Jordan Henderson role.
Mm. Yeah, it's a tricky one. Like again, the England comparison is quite a good one because, as I said, there was a time where they felt that they could only pick players from those two or three clubs. I think the Spanish one is more curious because you could argue that you were kind of biting your nose to spite your face if you weren't picking players from certain regions of your
Yeah.
country, especially ones that have like a well-defined style of play. Like I'm only looking now back at the team that did win the World Cup in 2010. And at a glance, it is predominantly Barcelona and Real players. Now, there's a couple of
Mm.
exceptions to the rule there, but they're all squad players. They're not necessarily, um, starters in a sense. David Villa, you probably say, is, uh, you know, half like in a sense he was a Valencia player, but again, you drill down and see where he started from. But in
Mm-hmm.
terms of actual Basque players, I'm only seeing really one or two. Compare that to the team that won this season, and yeah, I know like the likes of like Zubermendi didn't really feature throughout the entire thing, but I'm even talking about players like Inaki Williams, uh, or Nico Williams, I should say, even and even those kind of like those Barcelona like projects like Gavi and Pedri, they weren't the main protagonists of those of that season. It was the likes of Rodri, it was Unai Simon, it was Marc Cucurella, who was a reject from Real, or from I think he was a Barcelona reject actually. So
I
or
think
and
Cucurella
Pedro
was a
Porro was a
Barcelona
Manchester
one now.
City graduate. So this is a totally different ball game now. So like because when Spain started getting frailties in that team, when obviously a lot of those players started growing old, and ultimately they didn't have any strikers. That's always been like systematically the biggest problem with a Spanish outfit, is that they'd never produce strikers, or they'd be a little bit frail, they'd be out muscled in the midfield. Because this is around the time was kind of the starting of this kind of debate about like what style is better, was the kind of the German
Mm.
gegenpressing or the Spanish kind of control possession that Guardiola made famous. And there was a glimmer in time where gegenpressing was the winner, solely
Yeah.
because everyone that had a physical engine was going into midfield and just bullying the nice technical players. Now what's happened is that next generation of technical players also bully people off the ball. They can do both jobs now. They can kick the shit out of you and also play a perfect pass. So like
Yeah.
we're kind of screwed now in a
Uh,
sense. The Spanish have been able to like grow some muscle now. That's the kind of the perception, you know.
I have looked up. Cucurella did start with Barcelona. He did make a couple of
Yeah,
appearances for the first team, but mainly was in the reserve team in Barcelona B. Um, so yeah, and they
yeah. I was
also
down my
don't seem
wires
to
crossed
care
because he's now
much.
at Rail. Yeah,
Yeah, I think as well with the Spanish, it's like once they don't like when players transfer directly between rivals, but they seem to
yes.
care less if they started with Barcelona or Real Madrid, fuck off for
Mm.
5 years, and then come back and play with the opposite. It's like no one really cares. no one's put, throwing dead animal heads on the pitch because he transferred 7 years later. Do you know what I mean?
But yeah, I suppose in the grand scheme of things, it's there is a level of rivalry there that they kind of reserve only for Real and Barcelona. And again, there's a certain kind of kind of I suppose a hypothetical rivalry in a sense. Like this is the way we play them, and this is the way you set up your team, and they're two kind of like morally different kind of choices in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
You don't quite have that with England in the sense where the classic example would have been like Manchester United and Liverpool, let's say in the 90s. Um, they both
Yeah, like no,
found the players the
like the
same
thing,
way, you know.
no United fan hates Paul Ince.
No,
We'd hate him if he went from United to Liverpool, but he
mm,
went from United was it United into Milan for a year and then back to Liverpool.
yes, I think so. Yeah,
So that's why no one really dislikes Paul Ince. He's quite
mm,
well loved amongst the fan base. On the other
yeah,
hand, they all hope that the likes of Gabriel Heinze dies in a fire because he tried to
yeah,
push a move to Liverpool while he was at United. I think he
yeah,
left as
exactly.
well the
Yeah,
year
yeah.
before we won the double, the European and Premier League double. So I'm glad he's
But
not in the history books. Dick.
no, yeah, and that's fair enough. But I think again, it's also that conversation about like the clubs aren't in it like inherently different. You know, they don't they're
Mm,
not like say one is like solely or like in the same way that like the Basque teams only kind of like recruit in the Basque region. Like so Bilbao is strictly
yeah,
like regional players. Sociedad is not as stringent with that, but they still kind of lean on that kind of that Basque
they would
heritage. So like
prefer to get us if they had two players in front of them. They'd prefer the Basque player than they would the other
exactly,
lads.
yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's on that's a political choice in a sense. You don't have that with English clubs, certainly not in the Premiership's days anymore. But again,
Mm-hmm.
the Spain national team are not going to spite themselves with going. Do you know what? Let's not pick anyone from Newcastle.
Yeah.
You know,
No, they're not. No.
Newcastle's a smelly place, full of smelly people. We're not going to pick people there. It's a real kind of like Monty Python skills. Like, let's not go to Newcastle. It's a silly place. Um, so they're never going to do that. And I suppose that kind of does transition us to why the other teams didn't win this. So like Spain obviously were like Spain being the World Cup winners were obviously the correct answer. They were the perfect mix of physicality and technical skills. They had enough depth for all positions and ultimately didn't have to really sweat many games. They were in control for the majority of the games they
Yeah.
played because they were never
I mean,
behind.
they strangled that French game.
Yeah.
That was like men against boys. It was perfect,
But again,
brilliant.
what was France's weakness was the midfield. Was the fact that they had
Mm,
to go with Chimendi or Kone along with Rabiot. Rabiot was the centerpiece of that midfield, and the only reason he's there
thanks.
really is because he's the midfield that the Champs gets the most, if you know what I mean, is the fact that he's able to actually like get the tactical instruction to him, and then whoever is beside him is the engine. So if it's not Chelmeni, it's going to be Kone. So like it's so naturally, if you have a Spain midfield that is a hard-boiled 4-3-3, these positions do not change, these players do not change. Naturally, you're going to overrun them. The
Mm,
only thing that was going to help France was the fact that like they needed like all four of those kind of players to of their front four to basically bury the fullbacks and the defenders, and it just didn't happen. You know, it like one of the kind of weird quirks of of the success of Spain is that they only conceded one goal through the entire competition, and ultimately it's because their midfield defended like monsters. Their centre backs barely broke a sweat in most of those games because of the
mm.
screening work that the likes of Roger were doing. You know, they were a perfect example of basically letting the ball do the work and having your positioning perfect. When do you remember a last ditch like tackle from a Spanish defender? Probably Porro or Cucurella in the
Yeah,
final.
yeah, yeah. That's true. Actually,
You know,
they just
so I
they're
think that
just
was
they're
the thing.
so good at just like they're almost frighteningly calm, if that makes
Yes.
sense.
Oh yeah.
It's
That
kind of
that's
just
exactly
like
what it is.
fuck.
Yeah.
How do we even get into their heads? Like, I really did think the Argentinians just shitpost their way to a World Cup, and to be fair, they nearly did, but they
Yeah.
somehow could not get through the shit that Argentina was doing. Now, when the final whistle hit, it was very much just like right. No, we have won it. I'm gonna break a jaw. But everything up to that point, they were fucking focused and they were there, just trying
Mm.
to get a job done, which was really great to watch, to be honest.
I think that was part of the problem for me was that like I think this Argentina team could have genuinely had a chance because they do have players of individual quality, Messi amongst them, obviously. But
Mm,
if they had a coherent team out there, I think they would have tried. But again, the difference was that there's only one real team that was out there playing football. Argentina was not that team. They
mhm.
elected to go into that match knowing that they were physically inferior, technically inferior, and quite frankly mentally inferior. So the only thing they could do is to try and bully and break down the Spanish team enough, relying on the referee's leniency and trying to get any minor advantages or minor calamity to go their way. Like if they had any sniff in the penalty box, they were hoping to go down. Any foul, any yellow card, any red card they could pick up, they were going to take it. And that's no way to play a World Cup. That
No.
is no way to perform in front of a global audience. Like for everything that Argentina did, like, they were so entertaining, or just objectively speaking, like objectively entertaining up to the final, only to just fucking embarrass themselves like this was, quite frankly, to me, a bit of sporting karma
Oh
because
yeah.
of all the things that have been very distasteful for me in this World Cup, Argentina has been them, and like I described them in our group chat as both sore losers and sore winners, which is a rare mix. Um, and the problem is that it's now that they're sore losers, they're having this joint inquisition about like everything's a conspiracy. As much as we're giving out about the Argentinian team getting like preferential treatment, they now think it's a conspiracy because they didn't win. It's like, no, you were just beaten
Mm,
by a better team. This happens. It is
yeah.
very possible. You've been beaten by a lot of better teams over the last 25 years since you hadn't won the competition. It's okay. This is normal.
Yeah.
But I think that the issue was that they kind of felt like they had a God-given right to win another World Cup for Messi. And to a certain degree, I think Messi feels that way because this is his last one. This is the kind of proverbial last stance. So it would have been perfect for him to sign off his kind of like as a work career, because I'm not counting the MLS's career. It would have signed off his
Mhm.
actual footballing career, a serious footballing career with a second World Cup, for his country. And again, this is the very recent kind of like revisionism in the sense that like for the longest time, Messi was not really embraced by the Argentinian fans because he was a Barcelona project as opposed to a product of the Barrios, like Maradona was. So it took them a
Mhm.
very long time to embrace him as what he actually was because he felt he wasn't putting the shift in for Argentina. And as he got older and I suppose like his career changed from being a very non-Barcelona kind of centerpiece, did he actually kind of like immediately go, well, we have to win the World Cup for Messi now. He's the best player in the world. We have to do it for him. Let's
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
support him.
It didn't really feel like that. It really did take until the first Copa Libertadores win for
Yeah.
them to kind of actually believe, okay, he is
We
Maradona
can actually win
reincarnated.
something with him. We can win
Yeah.
trophies with this guy. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, before that, he did very much seem like just a world class outsider.
Yeah.
He never seemed to fit with that team. Whereas if he had went with Spain, let's say, he'd
Mm.
probably have 3 World Cups in his pocket by now.
Possibly. Yeah.
I mean, would they have capitulated in Russia? That's the question. Maybe not.
Yeah.
You know. But I'm glad. I mean, he has won. He's got more than Ronaldo,
Yeah.
so probably better off.
I think that's the bragging rights there, in fairness. But let's talk about the French. Like with that Argentina outfit, like as you said, like this is the end of the Messi kind of cycle now for Argentina, and I think they are at quite a massive crossroads because in a sense there are players there that can take the mantle, but they're not going to be Messi. So
Hmm.
how do they manage expectations now, knowing they're not going to have the best player in the world in their team? And for me, and this is going to be a controversial suggestion here, but maybe they should try playing as a team next time. That might actually
No,
work.
no,
I mean, they
no.
have quite a definitive spine through the team. Like, it's a spine of absolute bastards, it is a spine. They have Martinez, Romero, Enzo, and Simeone is quite a defined spine through that team. I know
Yeah,
Alvarez is the actual main striker there, but Alvarez is way too nice to be a bastard, so I'm throwing Simeone in there instead. But they do
he is,
actually
isn't he?
have
He is very nice, isn't he? He doesn't come across as a dickhead at all.
no, but
I don't know
it's like
what it is about him, alright?
it's like McAllister in the Argentine team. Like I thought, like the Argentine like players are singing about like songs about like thrown that include quite a lot of slurs in them. And McAllister's there at the back of the bus going, "I really want to go home." Like he doesn't
He's
belong
a
in there.
fella.
Like
He's the fella that would laugh along with us, and then when he
yeah,
gets off the
the
bus, he's
nervous
ringing
laugh.
someone
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
going, "Yeah, they know, ha, yeah," and then coming off it going, "Man, they said all a load of bad words. I didn't like this."
That's it. That's why I always have to laugh about it. They sing songs like that, and then they have to go back to the clubs with those people at the club. It's like, that's
I think,
if you're Leandro Paredes and you're going back to PSG after singing a song about Mbappe's girlfriend, how's that going to go for you?
yeah, yeah.
Like that's a choice. That is a choice. But then we also
I mean,
Paredes, well-known bastard himself.
well,
So
well, Martinez is going to have a very tough time getting back into the good graces of United fans,
mm,
English United fans specifically.
yes,
Um, I don't care. I absolutely love him. I still will. I do think that he's more of a backup now because his knees made a mush.
yeah.
But like at the same time, I don't expect there to be a kind of big homecoming for him if he had won it
On that
because of
topic,
the
by the
whole
way,
Falkland Islands thing.
I was about to mention the Falkland stuff. Can I just mention the absolute pathetic pearl clenching from the English media about all this?
Oh
There
my
are so
god,
many.
I
They are so
that might have
pathetic with
been.
this sort of stuff.
I know you're not on Twitter anymore, or at least you don't go on to that much anymore, at the very least. Um, that might have genuinely been the funniest meltdown I have seen on
Mm,
that website in honestly since the Queen died.
yeah.
Like that might be kind of like the only thing that's close to it. I wish it was on Twitter and around when Thatcher died. That would have been fun because that's never
Yeah,
going to
yeah, yeah.
stop. But it would have been great to be on there for the first 48 hours after it happened.
Mm.
But the head loss was phenomenal.
It was very
Like I
reminiscent,
could
and
have.
again, this happens every single time when like England, if someone celebrates at England's expense, the pearl clenching is absolutely incredible because the
This
headlines
was
so
different
change
though.
so quickly. Yeah, well,
But
there's
see,
been
this
precedents. There's been precedents.
no, they always have head loss when they get knocked out of a World Cup, right?
Mm,
Always. But this was a very particular type of head loss
yeah,
because someone can claim they're English and a leftist till the Falklands come up, and suddenly they're Thatcherites.
yeah,
That's the difference. Like
yeah, yeah.
no, without getting too much into the politics of it, they probably are Argentinas, but at the end of the day, they do have a what you call them, not an election.
A
What the hell?
referendum.
A referendum. They have a
Yes.
referendum once every so often. The last time they had a referendum, two people said they wanted to stay, they wanted to go with the Argentinians. More people spoiled their votes than
Yeah.
voted for that. It was Assad numbers in Syria.
Mm.
It was Saddam numbers. Like
It was Donald Trump numbers in a red state.
it's Donald Trump. Did you know what? He got some high numbers, but it's like 97.5% wanted to stay with
Yeah,
under British rule. Kind of just take the loss there.
yeah.
No one is going to sit there and go, I want Milei to be my president. No one wants that. Apparently, the Argentinians wanted it twice, but they deserve it now because their
I mean, if they want their currency to be
dog
worthless,
shit.
then yeah, fair play, yeah. But this is the thing, though, because like the headlines change so much from Thomas Tuchel, sorry, German manager Thomas Tuchel makes a tactical failure at England's biggest moment to how dare the Argentinians claim our islands, and this is the such the hilarious aspect of this is that this has actually been precedents to this before, and it happened when Ireland qualified for the Women's World Cup
Okay,
because
right.
because I remember watching this and being having and my jaw fucking like dropped when this whole thing happened. So the girls qualify and they're buzzing. They've after beaten Scotland. It's a fucking great occasion. They're all having a great time and they sing that song. They sing a song where the unofficial chorus of it is "You Are Up the Ra."
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
feels bad to know. Yeah, I
and
remember that.
yeah, exactly. And what's hilarious is that unfortunately, someone recorded that clip, and it got traffic, and then the English media found it, and they were outraged and disgusted, and this is awful. This is terrible, to the extent where Chloe Mustaki, who plays her football in WSL, like every Irish player, the majority of them in that squad, a couple of them are in Australia, a couple of them are in the States, but this was used against her basically. So she was made to front up for the all Irish national team, and you have this kind of like tooth like chiseling fucking like news anchor from like it wasn't even that, like he was like Sky Sports now have this kind of like jovial like smart casual tossers now on their
Mhm.
coverage. So here he is all being like kind of all jovial, and suddenly, right, serious face now. This Irish woman is on to explain the crimes of her people. As like, do you feel ashamed? Like, I said, do you feel a certain level of shame for what you've done now that you have to go back to England to work? I was like, and she's like, they're going like, yeah, yeah, sorry should have happened. Got carried away. Yeah, thanks. And like, even she's going like, this is a bit fucking much, lads. Like, will you just grow up? Like, it's a
Mm.
song. Get over it. We're not going to bomb your pubs anymore. It's
Remember,
fine.
remember when Stephen Kenny did that against England when we got battered by him? It was like the first game we played him after when we lost Grealish and Rice.
Yeah,
And
yeah, and he
did
played
he
some
play
weird
like a
fucking
big
Republican propaganda. Yeah,
rat? No, I'm a Republican, but I'm like that's gonna work with a certain subsect of people. Now, if I was facing England and I saw it, I'd probably go, I'm gonna break a couple of legs here. But I can imagine, like, I don't know, nothing against Doug Benny, but that's just the first name that's popping into my head because I think he might have been playing that game. Um, I'm not saying he's not fired up for it, but he would probably be sitting there going, okay,
yeah. I can't
right.
imagine the likes of Evan Ferguson getting really wound up because he's going to be playing against a team where he works. If all those lads were like playing like in the League of Ireland, I'd say maybe yes. But like all these lads work and live in England. It's kind of hard to kind of get
Yeah.
wound up for places where you live. It's yeah, but anyway, that's I had to mention that because that was just such a nonsense thing. Because again, there's a lot of things that you could have said about this World Cup adventure that England had, and getting upset about Argentinians like rubbing in a victory, rubbing in a match that they won where England clearly should have won instead. Maybe you should pull that thread instead. Like for all those made about like Tuchel being on big money to make the right decisions at the right time and to play the right players and all this sort of stuff. He kind of made the most classic of mistakes, and he shut up shop too early against a team,
Mm.
against an Argentinian team who have had shown previous evidence on three different occasions that if you shut up to us too early, we're gonna beat you. So like maybe you shouldn't have done that. You know, um, I mean, I don't know how you felt about like England's World Cup adventure, but I think
I'm
like
I'm
they seem
so
quite dull about
I'm
third
s-
place.
I'm so unbelievably happy. They were going into that Argentina game thinking that they were going to not only beat the Argentinians, but God himself on the pitch.
Mm,
Like, I don't even mean Messi, because there was a Talk Sport thing that went a little bit viral just before that game with
yeah,
fucking Simon Jordan Jr. and Rory Jenkins and Jamie O'Hara, no fucking knob, um, where they were asking who would Messi get into the England team, and they went no. I'm like, I think it was O'Hara that said he wouldn't put him into the team. I'm like,
that's a very talk sport thing to do. In fairness,
I know it is very much a talk sport thing to do, but they do distill the craziness onto their
mm,
thing. Sometimes it's funny. Spurs that are getting relegated, those couple of weeks leading up to that was hilarious carry on.
yeah,
Um, but I'm just like, you drank the Kool-Aid so much.
yeah.
You deserve this. You deserve everything that's happening here.
Mm.
No.
And then a France then. So like France, we like the last time we were talking, France were the team to beat, and shocking enough, they got beaten. Very quickly after we had tipped them to
They're
win.
no, they just got beaten by a better team. It's not that
Yeah,
they
yeah.
were bad. They just got the whole thing just got strangled. The whole
Mm.
style of play, they were against a better team, and they don't seem that pissy about it like everybody else was at the semi-finals. They're just, it's fine. They
I think
lost.
I think I
We
think I think
move.
they accepted they met their kryptonite. I think that's the reasonable thing to say because I think the last time that they faced Spain. I think it was in the Nations League or something. They were down 5-1 to Spain, and they came back
Mm.
to end a 5-4. But like, I think they knew how good the Spanish outfit was, or at least certainly the strengths of the Spanish team were their weaknesses. And I think that when something like that happens, it kind of makes it feel like it's a very amateurish performance when like it is quite literally no, they have a weak point. They know what our flaw is, and they're able to punish it. But yeah, like I think it's a shame because like I was actually quite enjoying the French at this World Cup. I think the uh, dictator and best Mbappe aside, I think there's actually quite a lot to like about the French outfit. Um,
Yeah,
the emergence of Michael Olise as like an actually really really good footballer and not just flattered by Bayern Munich. He is actually quite good. Dembele getting a hat trick and kind of justifying his Ballon d'Or, and then just like being able to just, as I said, just pull up so many other players from their pools. Like we like a lot of countries just will not stand a chance of the next couple of years because like if as long as the French don't like make a complete hatchet job of their recruitment and their kind of like other kind of, shall we say,
they've
elite players
they've
coming through,
they've got
I
it
think
down
gonna
to
be okay.
a fine. They've got it down to a science.
Mm,
Like there's no. They could have brought two different teams to that World Cup, and they probably would have gotten as far in both of those teams,
yeah.
which is nuts to say at international level.
Mm,
You should not have
yeah.
that depth in any of it. Like they have got more or less what 4 or 5 players in every position. That's like not maybe not world class, but definitely close to it.
Yeah, be pretty much to it. It
It's
wouldn't be too far away now. Yeah.
sickening.
Mm.
It's actually sickening. The gluttony sickens me.
Do you know what? I agree. Maybe they should donate a couple of players to Ireland instead. Like, if you do you think
Yeah,
they did maybe one of the Hernandez brothers like just like plays a couple of years down in Cork, and then we can declare him like they do in the rugby. Like fuck it, like the rugby do this shit all the time. You know that's why it's not a serious
yeah.
sport. It's like oh no, you can play for Ireland. Just stay here for 5 years and we'll nationalize you because you don't actually have any actual players who play in this
Do you
fucking
know what?
country. So we'll just
Amy's not
declare
gonna.
everyone we want.
Amy's not here. She ain't gonna fucking watch this, so I'll just shit talk her right now. As Jonathan gets ready for the timestamp.
Okay.
This was
Yeah,
5 minutes in.
I am going to clip
Um,
this to her, and you are going to get a fucking
when,
slap next time you see
I
her.
am
Carry
gonna
on.
get a thumping, but we bet a fiver on this. When Ireland didn't make the World Cup, we had an argument about what was like a bigger sport and what was a better team, right?
Mm,
And I was like, look, if Ireland make a World Cup in football, the country is an understanding would just like to get out of the group. But we
mm,
know we're not good enough to go further. And we haven't been since 2002. So making it's one thing and then just not making a fool out of ourselves is the second thing. As long as we can do those two things, perfectly happy. Right?
yeah.
But I bet Amy then went in was like the rugby's better. I'm like, the rugby isn't as good. Because we're like England fans, England football fans when it comes to rugby, in a sense. We go
Mm,
in every single time as arguably the best team in the world. The last World Cup we did, we made the quarterfinals and we shit the bed. And I made a bet with Amy that that would happen again
mm.
because I know it's going to happen. So
Yeah.
it's very much as like rugby's not a serious sport for a number of reasons, but that being the key one when it comes to Ireland rugby fans because they want D4 dickheads and South Cork dickheads. Everywhere else is fine. Even Limerick, they got nothing else going for them. They just get a good GA 18 months every 10 years. Let them have the rugby.
As has been proven in the last few weeks, yeah. No, I see your point about rugby, and I think like I think on that kind of aspect of it's because obviously every country has a football team, whereas not every country plays rugby. So I think there's a smaller pool to play with. So like there's not in a way like we don't have as many opportunities to embarrass ourselves on a national scale
No, we don't.
on the global scale. You know, it's all
Giovanni
relative in a
Trapattoni's
sense.
team. Giovanni Trapattoni's team embarrassed themselves at the Euros in 2012. Sean St.
Yeah.
Ledger was the only one that registered an actual goal of that tournament. We got battered by the
Mm,
Spanish 5-1. Does anyone
yeah.
fucking care? No. Because it's just like, I would have liked to have gotten like 2 points. But, well,
It's not that. It's
we
like
made
we
it.
see, even for that tournament, we knew we were shit. Do you know why? Because our manager knew we were shit. Like he was paid to make us qualify for the Euro for that competition. And he went, right, I'm done. Sorry about yous. Yous are on your own.
Well, no, we nearly,
Um,
no, he was there for another little bit. He nearly got us to the World Cup before that cheating bastard got us out of it.
to be fair, I think that was probably for the best.
No, I
that
would have liked
Euros
to.
performance.
I would have liked it just because you know full well that Platini would have been fucking pissing blood at the thought of not make that team making the World Cup.
Well, that's true,
Just for
actually.
that
Yeah,
alone,
yeah,
fucking
that would have been quite good.
yeah.
But yeah,
Because
yes,
we were better than. I'm gonna go on now. We were better than France. We're better than France over 2 months.
That was
We're a
that was
good
probably the
team at
weak
that
point of the
point.
French team. In fairness, yeah, it's a far cry now. We just don't have the same. We just don't
But
develop the same players as
it
France
did
do
give us
anymore.
that meltdown at that World Cup and
Mm.
that famous French implosion where just everyone fucking hated each other. So I guess
Yeah.
we got something from it. I guess.
Yeah, again, that's a good example, another good example of sporting karma. So yeah, I suppose like that's with the competition now over, what's been the kind of the highlights and the lowlights for you if you were to pick? Let's pick three each. We'll do like a shootout. So
Okay.
what's your first highlight? And I'll go with my
Oh,
highlight
Cape
then as
Verde.
well. Cape Verde,
Cape
yeah, that was
Verde.
my one as well. Yeah.
They're brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Fair
Mm.
fucks to them. They knocked the Argentinians out. And in hindsight, probably would have been class if they knocked them. But then we wouldn't have had this whole talk about Argentina being arseholes. So, it's like a monkey's paw situation.
Yeah, I suppose so. But I suppose to jump back on your Cape Verde point, I think the reason they're such a good story is that like they have always been used as a kind of as a straw man for this whole expanded format stuff. With the fact that like now that there is 48 teams, Gary Neville keeps putting Cape Verde into this conversation, which clearly identifies that he hasn't got a fucking clue what he's talking about because he keeps mentioning Cape Verde as a counterpoint to this expanded format of 48 teams, not realizing that if it was 32 teams, Cape Verde still would have qualified for the World
They
Cup
still
because
would
they
have
topped their
qualified, yeah.
qualifying group. So like
Yeah.
they beat two. I think Cameroon and Guinea or Mali were in their qualifying group. So the fact that they beat Cameroon, a perennial World Cup team, to this competition means that they earned their chance. In the same way that like, well, if you wanted to kind of like to split hairs, you could say, well, maybe DR Congo are the the bonus team from Africa in this competition, but no, because they beat Nigeria to get there. So they're all there by merit. It's actually quite unfair to throw them in there. And then when you actually
Yeah,
see how good the team
they were
actually
actually there in
is, they
sport and
proved
merit.
it.
Yeah, they were there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were in sport and merit, like not because of expanded. If Ireland got in, we would have been the team that benefited from the expansion, but we didn't, so we weren't.
Yeah.
But
I suppose
like,
actually you could actually probably argue some of the South American teams are the biggest beneficiaries. Like
I
can you say
mean,
that the like
they
Uruguay
may. I
probably
mean,
shouldn't have got to the competition? They weren't really good enough. Paraguay were
but
a big beneficiary.
isn't there only like two teams from South America don't make a World Cup?
Well, I
Like
think
that's ridiculous.
it's 10, yeah, I think it's a qualifying pot of 10
It's either
and
10
I
or
think
12.
6. Yeah.
Yeah, it's either 10 or 12. So
Mm,
like, they're South American football is just going to have your big players, decent teams that should probably do better but don't,
yeah.
and then the lads who just got in there because of the fact that it extended to
Mm,
10 or 8 or 10 teams depending on how much is because I know there's only 2 left over. So like, that's not going to help anyone.
yeah.
I have a feeling when it comes to South America, it's very much going to be like Hull, for instance. I think
Mm,
when we do a Premier League breakdown, we'll probably believe in that Hull are going to finish bottom. But they don't care that they finish bottom of the league because they get all the
mm,
money from playing in the Premier League. Whereas
yeah.
if Chile get knocked out in the group, they're still getting all the money that comes with playing in a World Cup. So they're
Yeah,
just
exactly.
there for
Yeah.
the sake of it.
Getting there is the main thing. Yeah.
Getting there is the main thing, without actually caring about what happens when it actually gets there, at least from the FA's point of view, because they're just like, we're going to get like 10 billion euro from this.
Yeah, exactly.
May as well stick about, like, do you know what I mean?
I did just to answer your question. I did check there, so it's obviously there's 10 countries in that pot. The top 6
Mm-hmm.
qualify for the World Cup, and the seventh team, which was Bolivia, made it to the international playoff, where they got beaten in the end. I think by Iraq, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So again, that demonstrates the point that like the fact that like you could say that some of the Asian teams were beneficiaries as well. The likes of Uzbekistan probably wouldn't have gone through. Iraq obviously got through the kind of the confederation side of it as well. Would I say that the quality went down? I'd probably say no
No.
to a certain degree. Like I think there's a couple
Because
of teams that are absolute clangers, but you get that in every competition, really.
yeah, like, I mean, you got 48 teams, and if you have 40 of them that actually look like they want to win this,
Yeah,
even if they're not going to, and you have 8 that are left over. They're just like, this is class.
yeah,
We're at
yeah.
a World Cup, which is fine. Like,
Mm.
it could have been a disaster. It could have brought down the standard of the World Cup, but it didn't, because everyone was making jokes to start going. I'm not going to start at 3 o'clock in the morning to watch Cape Verde versus Iraq, and then you
Mm.
go on from going, I'm going to watch Cape Verde versus Iraq because I know it's probably going to be better off watching this than fucking Brazil and Italy or whatever.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. Yeah. But I thought that's my first low light of the tournament is this whole nonsense about the third place teams coming through. Like I
Mm,
think there is a if I am putting my hat back on for this podcast, I would say I think this whole nonsense of the third place teams is a way of justifying for the next tournament to expand it to 64 teams because naturally that is going to be a complaint for people because of this. Is that like certain
mm,
teams would have been eliminated? I think that FIFA would probably have been secretly hoping for like a really big elimination because of this setup that like say a team would have only scored 2 or 3 points and therefore been eliminated because some other team were able to give another team a hiding and therefore got
mm.
eliminated. Like the biggest, who we say the biggest casualty from the groups were probably Uruguay. They probably say maybe South Korea just historically, but certainly Uruguay I think were the
Yeah.
biggest casualty from that first round.
Japan
Um,
got knocked out. Did Japan get knocked out
no,
in the
no,
first round?
Japan got made
Oh,
it to the round of 32. They lost to Brazil in the end, um,
no.
but again, you could argue they probably would have been better off finishing third, as a turn or finishing second or first. Like that we've had the conversation about the group already. So that is one thing that say where like the biggest feedback they're going to get is that like it's stupid having teams that are third place go through to the next round, and then the scattergun approach of having them like, okay, this third place team will face a host, and then you're going to face a host, but you only got 2 days to prepare and about 30,000 miles to travel. So fucking chop chop. You know, like South Africa only finding out if they're qualifying or not, and then 2 days later having to shit Canada up to fucking Toronto or to
Mhm.
or to I think it was New Jersey they had to go to because Canada fucked up their group. So like that obviously doesn't work. So they need to do something bit smarter with that. So like I think that's the whole thing. We're like, well, do you know what the perfect break is? How about just more groups of clubs and then the top two in each group? Simple as that.
Ca- ca- I'm listening to everything you're saying here, and I agree.
Hmm. So, what other lowlights have you got? Actually, my lowlight was the third place teams. Have you got a lowlight yourself?
Just Infantino in general.
Ah, yeah. I mean, he is
He's an
such a
arsehole.
yeah. There's no nice way to say it. He is just a horrible
There's
human
no,
being.
he's not likable. Again, Blatter was likable. You got something from him, you know.
Mm,
Like, yes, was he a bit sexist towards women players? Of course he was. Look at the fucking age of the man. But the
mm.
way he said it was kind of funny, if that makes sense. Like, obviously, I would rather they weren't, but if you're going to do it, at least be somewhat funny with it. Say that they should just wear shorter shorts. That'll get the men interested. I'm like, that's some old school sexism. I like it,
The
but
kind of the
buddy,
Herbert Hefner
you
school
gotta fucking
of
go.
making a tit of yourself. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um.
like
Yeah, I agree with you. The
Infantino's
Infantino
just
thing. Yeah.
awful. He's
Yeah.
awful. He's an absolute fucking arsehole. I'm hoping that Trump manages to somehow persuade people around him to make him fucking invite to the UN. Do it. You get rid of
Yeah,
him then.
yeah, like that's this is the problem that we have with Infantino is that like he is genuinely one of the worst things to ever happen in football. But the problem is that he is politically making enough money for all the federations that need the money in order to get voted back in. Like he is using the ultra
Well,
democratic system to go to his advantage. Now again,
yeah,
he might have rivals for his election, but it's not going to be
it,
like now. It's
it
going to be
does
the election after this.
well, not necessarily.
Mm,
From what I've read, there is a point here where it actually might backfire on him because
yeah.
before the World Cup, if you remember, he was like, "Oh, we're not going to do 64 teams. That's pointless," and it kind of just died off. But
Mm,
he's trying to get the likes of CONCACAF and the African Football Association on side now
yeah.
by touting the 64 team World Cup. Which is ridiculous. And on top of that, is whether they're going to actually fall for the bullshit or not. And then on
Mm,
top of that, UEFA apparently are really pushing to get rid. So if UEFA can somehow tell those associations, continental associations, to just go, look, this is not going to work out for you. You're going to push the 64 team and then he's going to get rid of it in 2 years' time because
Yeah, yeah.
it's not going to work. So if they can somehow manage to push him into it, somehow manage to push him out, not saying it'll be better, but it'll definitely be fucking less shit than it is now.
Yeah,
You know
well,
what I
certainly
mean?
he's burnt the bridge with UEFA anyway after the Balogun situation, and yeah, I think that's probably my other low light of the whole car tournament was the foreign interference, was the fact that like Donald Trump stuck his oar in and ruined a perfectly good tournament for the USA. Like it was totally unnecessary. Didn't need to do it, and the fact that like Infantino had bent over backwards to say that it was his decision, only for Trump to go, "Yeah, I did it. I'll take credit for that. That was me. I did that.
That's
That was that."
that's
You
the only
know?
reason he was front and center of all of it between
Yeah.
Infantino and Trump. Like, if Biden was president, yes, does he have Alzheimer's? Of course he does.
Hmm.
Anyone can see that. But it would have been less than fucking embarrassing what we got.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous. I
Yeah.
hated every second of it. I was kind of glad that the US got knocked out because we actually got nothing on Trump
Yeah.
to do with the World Cup after only to the end. And he was like, that was it. And we were all
Mm.
expecting them anyway to be front and center of the trophy. That's fine. We kind of knew that was
Yeah.
coming anyway. But yeah, it very much just, it was just, the start of it was fun because it was kind of like the Qatar thing. And then we never got I feel a gay or I feel like a migrant worker or whatever. So we had
No,
nothing
he
to
didn't.
balance
He,
it
he
out.
didn't give away any of those classics anyway. No.
Yeah, so that kind of slightly, I wouldn't say ruined the buzz around Infantino, but because he had nothing there, it's like
Mm.
everyone's actually just seen as like you're not funny, you're not likable, you're just corrupt for the sake of being corrupt.
Yeah.
At
Exactly. Yeah.
least at least Blatter was somewhat likable. At least Blatter was
Mm.
somewhat loved. It was just his time had he finally burned the candle at both ends.
Yeah.
That's gonna have to stop
But
somewhere.
he
With
got caught
Infantino is
basically.
just yeah,
Yeah.
he got caught. I mean, yeah, fine, but we all knew that was gonna happen anyway. He was never gonna get away
Yeah.
scot free with all of what he did. But with Infantino, it's just like you're just doing this to get a payday, and much like Trump, you know nothing really is going to happen to you. So
Mm.
when you do get voted out or you do manage to quit, you'll just leave, and that'll be the end
Yeah.
of that one. It's like,
I think it's also like he just clearly does have such this chronic craving for power and trying to make himself one of the most like the most important people in the room. Like he is trying to be,
mm,
he's trying to give himself the same kind of billing as a head of state, which is just never going to
yeah,
happen. And that's the other problem. Like all these kind of stunts that he does, for his own benefit, where he is front and center. The most distasteful of them all is the one. I think it was a couple of weeks before the World Cup where the FIFA's Council Summit is happening. I think it's in Canada, and he brings on the head of the Israeli FA and he brings on the head of the Palestinian FA, and he wants them both to shake hands and to move on.
yeah, that was awkward. That was so bad. It's like, oh, come
It's
on, my
just
guy,
incredible. Like
Jesus
it's
Christ.
to think so little of a genocide when like did you're telling a person whose people are being butchered left, right, and center to shake hands with this guy and just kind of bury the hatchet, or even as pathetic as it sounds, suggest a game of peace between Israel and Palestine. There's no point doing that game because Israel have slaughtered all the fucking Palestinian footballers.
Yeah, they've got no
You
one
didn't
left.
really. Yeah, like there's no point in the game in peace because they're all fucking dead, Infantino. Like you might have you kind of missed that bit. Um, but again, that is the author state of it all. And unfortunately, a lot of federations are still like buying into that particular bullshit, as we've learned to our detriment. Um, I suppose highlights for me to end on a positive note, I will say that the extra knockout rounds have been at the very least a nice little level of jeopardy that the World Cup, not to
Mm,
say that they haven't needed in a sense, because I think a 32 World Cup is perfectly fine, and I, for what it's worth, enjoy looking forward to the Women's World Cup next year when that is the case, and it's a little bit more sensible looking. But what I do enjoy is like knockout football in the World Cup. There is no replacement for it in that sense. Like there
no, it's
is
not.
when it is just you know gun to the head, one of these teams has to go through, and there were some absolutely brilliant pair ups in that sense. Like the Germany Paraguay is one of those ones where it is an historically relevant upset in that respect because, like broadly speaking, Germany were an absolute disaster this World Cup. I don't think there's any nice way to say it. A few good individual like performances, but in the end. the manager was proven to be an absolute spoofer, and that
Mhm.
team really did not want to stay in that tournament any longer, which is
I'm
a
kind of
regular
glad
occurrence for
that
them lately.
Nagelsmann. I'm kind of glad that Nagelsmann managed to just make an absolute kid of himself in this World Cup. But not him more so
Mm,
than the fact it's just Germany just in a lull anyway at this point. But
yeah,
as United fans want Nagelsmann in, I'm like, I don't want them anywhere near the club. I wouldn't want
I,
Liverpool to take him either.
this World Cup has
People,
proven that he is not the right answer for a lot of teams. I
it's
can't
like,
see
oh, he
how
won
anyone
stuff. I'm
would want him.
like, fine, he won stuff, but he also won stuff in Bayern Munich. I mean, that's like losing your virginity in whorehouse. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
okay, you find it hard pressed to not win something in Germany. It just
Mm,
depends. Really good managers from Bayern Munich are based on their European exploits and their
exactly.
actual
Yeah,
league
yeah.
exploits.
Same
And
with
he
PSG.
never really, yeah, same with PSG.
Mm,
We all know PSG is great.
yeah,
They're a good club. I mean, they've got a good team. That's
yeah,
fine. But they also, when they go to Europe, most of the time they're absolute like weapons in Europe. They're
yeah, yeah.
absolutely phenomenal. So when it comes to so that's why Nagelsmann was never good enough. He's a Spurs
Mm,
manager. He's a Spurs manager to make him to a final and get in fourth place for 2 seasons in a row and fuck off and go, well, I can do it under pressure or whatever. He's not a Man United manager. He's not a Liverpool manager. He's not an Arsenal manager. He might now probably go to he does strike me as a manager that would end up fucking off to either going back to Red Bull, going to Borussia Dortmund or Leverkusen
mm.
to kind of prove a point. See, I
It's
think the
hard to
shit
say.
out of these
Yeah,
teams.
because age is on his side, he could literally he has plenty of time to prove people wrong in a sense. And again, it could be the fact that he is such a young kind of coach and he's been kind of lauded as this
That
kind
does
of
help.
prodigious. It helps and it hinders because he's been lauded as this kind of prodigy. He's kind of this recent iteration of Andre Villas-Boas, where Villas-Boas was kind of seen as
Yeah.
the inheritor to the Jose's kind of crown in the sense of of this Portuguese savant. He knows how to make these players tick. And in the moment he was given a big job in Chelsea, he was a deer in the headlights and didn't know what he was doing and couldn't control or set up a team, couldn't buy a team in a sense. And
Mm.
then when he got a second chance at Spurs, same difference. He got an absolute hiding off that one time in Liverpool, and he got the sack then after that. So it's it is a sort of thing where you can platform people too quickly, and you can
Mm.
have them in a position when they're absolutely not ready. As a lot of Premier League clubs kind of learn when they put in just because they put in a young coach doesn't mean you're putting in a good coach. There is a
Yes.
difference between having a coach that actually gets the club and understands the club, and then a coach that is just in there kind of for the paycheck and for a bit of clout. So that is a conversation we'll be having later on in the year. Um, One positive for me, and this is probably my last one of this kind of discussion. Norway. They
They
were
were
an
class.
awful lot of fun, both on and off
Mm-hmm.
the pitch. I think a team that everyone universally liked. I think there's always a team in every kind of tournament that people gravitate towards. Either they kind of relate to them or they just feel like they're a great addition to the tournament. When we're there, it's normally us. If
Mm.
Italia 90 and USA 94 is into the goal boy, but I'm glad Norway have kind of been the kind of the people's champions in that respect. Very likable team, very likable human beings, and quite frankly, they were absolutely rightful to get to quarterfinals because they
Mm.
are a sign of a team that could genuinely win competitions. If the stars align for them, in the same way that Belgium always
They,
felt like they should have won something with their golden generation, there's nothing to say Norway couldn't do that if they had
well,
one or two more players in their pool.
Belgium did suffer as well from the team being split in half of the fact that it was a Courtois cheated, slept with De Bruyne's wife.
Yeah,
That doesn't help
no, it doesn't. No, so as long as
because
there's no
that's not going.
no, yeah,
Yeah, there's nothing there to fucking help anyone. So if Norway can avoid that,
yeah. If they
I
can
mean,
avoid
if someone said,
Harchester syndrome, I think they'll be okay.
yeah, if they can avoid Hard-Chested syndrome and they can avoid everyone just not really liking each other because of the team they play with,
Mm,
and they all kind of realize they're in it together instead of individuals, there's a chance they might win. They need to come deep into the Euros the next time around. Go
So
one
you're
better,
saying they
make
should
the
all row
semi-final.
in the one right direction is what you're kind of getting at
That's
there.
what I'm kind of implying. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Well, that worked.
mm.
Great. So,
Yeah. See how so good that was?
yeah, that was seamless. That was seamless. Okay then. So, with that then, let's do our other bits and bobs then as part of the World Cup, such as this round of Winning 11. So, we did this something similar for this with the end of the Premier League season, and instead of torturing Aaron with his knowledge of obscure football matches through time,
it worked out well last time.
you did very well. Your knowledge of your knowledge of Belgian players around 2018 is quite impressive. It shows you what power a football manager has over people's heads, but. But what I am going to task you with doing is making up a team of the tournament. Um, and I'm going to show you a little. I've got a little kind of sampler of the team of the players you can pick because again, it's been a long tournament. So what I've done is I've scoured the stats packages of the tournament, and I picked the three best performing players per position, and then a couple of wild cards then for those that don't suit.
There's no fucking way Van Dijk was up there.
Remarkably enough, yes, he was. He scored 2 goals, and I believe he also was best for the interceptions as well. Which is, I know it's so there's some of these players that are here. I'm thinking they do not belong here. Like Florian Wirtz was like top of the pile for for progressive passes. I was like, that doesn't sound right for the amount of matches he had, but yeah, he actually did. And again, I don't expect him to be like in this team at all, but like it's just kind of interesting the players that did end up on it. So we have a few just to make this entire thing kind of spicy. We are enforcing a couple of rules, so it has to be one player per country. So we can't just pick the entire French or Spanish squad. We have to pick and choose between them. Which I think is going to make it quite interesting. That's why we also have the wildcard choices here as well. So if there's a player that you just generally like from the competition and is not in a country that's already been picked, we can stick him down here as well. So there's options
I
here.
mean, the wild card, one of the wild cards is going to go to the man from South Cape Verde who plays with fucking Shamrock Rovers. Why is his name out of my head right now?
I'm going to let you squirm here until
Don't do that. Just
I don't know who you're talking about, Aaron. It could be literally.
You know who I'm talking about.
I know. You're.
Just the worst thing is his face is there. It's like everything's there, and his name is just.
I'm gonna do a one letter at a time until you get it right.
Pico Lopez.
There we go. My God, I think you might have genuinely had it. Yeah.
It was so fucking annoying.
If we're throwing in wild cards, I'm going to throw in Vozinha as well. Do you know what? Actually, I have another Cape Verde player I throw in here as well. I'll do it on this side, like because it's only fair you pick 2 wild cards as well. I want to throw in their wing back Sidney Lopez Cabral for the clearly the goal of the tournament against Argentina.
Oh my God, that was brilliant.
Yeah.
Any other country that does that, that's a winning goal. Those fuckers happen to play against the voodoo merchants.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. I suppose is there any other players? Have you got? Was there any players that you really enjoyed in this tournament? If you were even with your Man United hat on or anyone like that,
I want to just be a fucking knob and just say Bruno Fernandes because he didn't get that bad.
he didn't look that bad, but again, not much to show
It's
from it.
just,
In fairness,
no, but that's what happens when you get played in the team with
yeah.
fucking
Do you know what?
Ronaldo,
Actually,
I guess.
I do have a wildcard entry, and as one I wasn't expecting to have was probably Anthony Gordon. He had a genuinely
He was
good
quite good.
tournament.
He
Yeah,
he seemed to just he had to grow into it, but after the Mexico once he played in the Mexico game, he was absolutely brilliant.
yeah.
Um, yeah, that's another good show. Um,
Now again, we don't have to pick from this pool. If there is another player that comes to
I
mind while we're
know.
picking the team, we can. But um,
I don't think
yeah. So,
Anthony Gordon would get into it, but he was one of the better players.
who was it? Sorry.
No, I was saying Anthony Gordon
Oh
wasn't.
yeah,
He's
sorry.
not
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
get into the team in a whole. I'm considering where he plays, but he was still. I mean, he did show up
Yeah.
when they needed him until he wasn't there. Spice Harry Kane is in, isn't there? Unless I'm blind.
We can include Harry Kane here. To be fair.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
Harry Jane even.
Harry Jane. Yeah, his secret play his secret identity. And yeah,
Do you want to pick?
whichever.
Do you want to pick the last one? Because the only other player I can think of that had a decent World Cup was the Sandro Martinez. That's not there.
I'll throw in the Norway goalkeeper Neuland,
Yeah. All right.
because he had a phenomenal individual game against Brazil. So I think I'll throw him in there as well. Actually, no. Do you know what? I have a Japanese player that I wanted to throw in here because he was. I want to get his first name right uh because I was very impressed with him in the Brazil game. Keito Nakamura, that's his name. Um, I just felt like he was really hard done by with the draw that he had, and like genuinely was one of the more impressive kind of players in the team. So I was actually quite disappointed that they were out so early. So okay, so here we go. So yeah, so if we're obviously for audio listeners, we might do this by position. I think might be a good, a fair way of doing this.
Well,
So
I kind of know. I know the front three.
okay, well, do you know what? Well, let's fill in the blanks. What position do you want to do first? Who you build the
I
team around?
I think Harry Kane needs to go as a striker because although when they got knocked out, he wasn't great.
Okay,
Again, he did have a good World Cup.
yeah,
Overall, he moved his league season into the World Cup, and they were doing fine. You know, the semi-final came over and he just disappeared. But
okay.
that's part of the
So
course now, yeah.
for striker options here, I am going by like basically the players that were statistically the best strikers: Kylian
Hmm.
Mbappe, Lionel Messi, Erling Haaland, Julian Quinones, who's the Mexico striker, who kind of dovetailed with Raul Jimenez, Usman Dembele, who can play centre forward but was more of a right winger, and then we have Harry Kane as a wildcard entry. So, out of those options, are you picking Kane over Haaland or Mbappe?
Going to put Mbappe on the wing, to be honest,
Hmm.
to get him in there. In
Okay,
my
you can always
head,
put him on the left,
in my
like technically.
in my head, I was going Messi on the right, Mbappe on the left, and Harry Kane down the middle.
Okay,
And that's kind of
so the
where
choice
that's
is
where
so
I'm
the
probably
choice
going to
between
stick, to be honest.
yeah, okay, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
We'll do that then. So Harry Kane up front. Now, bear in mind now, if you pick Harry Kane here, you're not going to be able to pick Jude Bellingham. So it's a choice between like basically it's a choice between Haaland or Odegaard and Kane or Bellingham.
Okay. In that case, Haaland up front, of Bellingham playing behind him.
Okay,
That'll be a front four.
that will be the front four. So there we go. Right, so that's locked out. Um, almost all the semi-finals. So now you have a choice then of let's work the way down then. So for midfield, so obviously for this is only for audio listeners, the left wing option statistically, and again, I had to qualify this. This is according to FBref and all the kind of stats are there. The left wing options were Vinicius Junior, Florian Wirtz, and Ismaila Sarr of Senegal. The right wing options were Michael Elise and Cody Gakpo, excuse me, and Lionel Messi. then the midfield options then, so we picked Jude Bellingham, but the other options, and this is including the defensive and attacking midfielders, we've got Rodri, Yuri Tielemans, Enzo Fernandez, Matthias Galarza, Johan Manzambi, Declan Rice, Stephen Estacchio, Ismail Saibari, Malik Tillman, Martin Odegaard, Roberto Alvarado, and Jean Arias, who actually I think could also play as a winger as well. So obviously we are blocked out from playing Odegaard and Belling or Odegaard and Rice, I should say. But some of the other midfielders there are available too. So who's your
I
Spanish player
would.
is what I would pick.
God, fuck. You put Rodri there, I think.
Okie dokie. So Rodri would presumably be there in the balance of midfield. So are you going with a 4-3-3 or are you going for a different formation? If you're playing with a front three.
For now, we go with a 4-3-3, and if I have to fuck around with it at some point, maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
okay. So
if I'm going to go with a 4-3-3, I'll put Fernandez next to Rodri to play behind Bellingham. In my head,
yeah.
Oh no, I can't put Fernandez in. Shit.
Yeah, so Enzo Fernandez is not an option now because we have Messi on the field. So Rodri then being our Spanish player then knocks out a few other options as well. Should we talk about the back line? And that might narrow down a couple of options.
Yeah, that narrowed down a couple of options.
Yeah. So
I mean, you would. Sorry, no. Before you go into the statistics, I'm like doing the pick first and then seeing what we could have done. Anyways, what's good?
Absolutely, yeah. That's fine.
I would put Pico Lopez there because he wasn't just isn't that fella class? He's from Dublin. He actually had a fucking phenomenal World Cup.
He did,
to be
especially
fair
against Spain. I think the Spanish game was brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, the fact that they kept the eventual world champions quiet, I think speaks more about them as opposed to Spain. So yeah. And again, that also frees up a lot of choices then for your for other countries then as well. So yeah, let's talk about goalkeepers then, shall we? So the best goalkeeper statistically at the competition, number 1 was Gregor Kobel for Switzerland. Simon was actually number 3 in the list, and again, you could argue that's because he had very little to do. Diogo Costa was the Portuguese goalkeeper, was the second best. Vozinha was on the list, in fairness, but I did narrow it down to the top 3. So, unfortunately, because we're picking Pico, Vozinha won't be eligible for this. So it is a choice between really Gregor Kobel, Diogo Costa, or any other goalkeeper you quite enjoyed in this competition.
I feel like if you're going to pick the best goalkeeper, you probably pick him on stats. Really.
So you're going for Kobel then, yeah?
Yeah.
Grand.
Yeah.
So that's our Swiss choice on the board.
I know they weren't the prettiest team going into during the World Cup, but the goalkeeper has one job, and he did that job very well.
Yeah, I think you could say a couple of penalties in the competition. I think so. That might explain why his stats were so high. So we already picked one of our centre backs, which is Pico. I'll give you the other choices for centre back. Again, statistically, these are the best ones, which was Virgil van Dijk, Christopher Ayer, Davinson Sanchez from Colombia, Jean-Paul Van Hecke, which was Virgil van Dijk's partner in central defence, Christian Romero, who will be eligible because we already have our Argentinian pick, and then Gabriel Magalhães from Brazil. Now, I will say if we're
who would you pick, like? Because I'm kind of drawing a blank on any like great centre back performances. But I guess if you want goals from a centre back, you probably put Van Dijk inside there. It's going 2 goals of the World Cup. Centre back is
yeah. Good, I did watch a lot of the Dutch in this competition, more than probably healthy for me. But I was actually quite impressed with Jean-Paul Van Hecke. Like, as someone, I think, like, at the time, I would have figured he would have been a 3rd or 4th choice centre-back, because I can't imagine why they wouldn't have played Van Dijk and Van de Ven, because Van de Ven would have been the most natural choice there. Like, he would have been more mobile, moving around better. But Van Hecke, I think, just as a defender, was really, really good. Just, again, a good balance between being able to play it out from the back, mobile enough to kind of cover a lot of the kind of And to be fair, the Dutch didn't really have defensive frailties. Their frailties were elsewhere, but they were solid enough between the back of them. I honestly don't think like between Van Dijk and Van Hecke there isn't really a bad choice there. Gabriel I think was one of the few highlights of the Brazilian outfit. But personally I think the best Brazilian player was Douglas Costa. Um, which is a shame because he was such an unspoken like unsung hero of the team, and really just didn't really deserve to be kind of shuffled out to left back, but he actually did quite a good job. So yeah, I'd say out of them, I would probably say either the Dutch centre backs or Gabriel. I'd say
I was going with Gabriel. He got the deepest in the tournament. France weren't bad by any means before
yeah.
they got knocked out. It's not like time
I
called
suppose
for
this,
them or anything.
yeah, I suppose this is also the trade off like
Sorry,
being of actually having our kind of like our star players up the front here is that like Gabriel, even though Brazil were not the best in this competition, you can
that's
still
because they're
applaud an
all
individual
Protestants now.
performance. They are. It is true. It is because they have toasters in their
That's
cupboards now. It's
yeah,
awful,
they got tosses in their cupboards and they don't listen to ABBA. So
and they turn the Weans against us. So we have a couple of places still left to fill. So let's go to left back, shall we? So the left back choices are Douglas Costa from Brazil, now blocked out, Nuno Mendes from Portugal, and Jed Spence from England. So unless you have another person you want to throw in here, Nuno Mendes is the only applicable option, unless you have someone else you want to throw in.
no, no, going to the Mendes. Because it would have been
Yeah.
dead expensive if we didn't pick that in, to be honest. Because he was, even the two games that I watched of England, he was quite good, to be honest.
Yeah. And in fairness, Nuno Mendes was brilliant. It was unfortunately just the hamstring sniper got him in the Spanish game. Otherwise, I think he would have had Lamine quite covered quite well. So then we're down to right back, and the right back choices, Pedro Porro was one of them. I should also say, by the way, Mark Cucurella would have been a choice here if we didn't have Rodri on the pitch as well, just for left back.
Yeah,
In
yeah, he
fairness.
would have been actually, yeah.
Yeah. So Nuno Mendes is our left back choice. Pedro Porro is eligible because we have Rodri already on the pitch. Then we have the choice between Ashraf Hakimi for Morocco or Daniel Munoz for Colombia. Now, I would say my personal pick was Munoz from watching some of the Colombia games. He was brilliant.
Well,
Palace have a hell of a
if you
player there.
watch more of the Colombia games and he was actually genuinely good and it's not just the good stats, go with him then.
I think he scored 2 goals in the competition as well. Like I think he scored the
yeah,
match
from
winner.
left back,
Yeah, in two of them.
yeah.
So yeah, so Daniel Munoz is the right back. And then we're left then with the last midfielder. So I'll review the choices we have again. So we have the ones that are eligible at least, because we can't pick Enzo, we can't pick Manzambi, we can't pick Rice or Odegaard. But we do have a choice then of Yuri Tielemans, Steven Estacchio, Ismail Saibari, who earned himself a move to Bayern throughout all this, and Roberto Alvarado, the Mexico midfielder as well. I know who I'd personally pick out of that, but what would be your thoughts? What midfielders impressed you in this tournament?
Do you know what? For the sake of being in three countries, and we're not going to pick anybody else, I would say probably go with him, the Mexico player in the center.
Alvarado.
Because it's not like any of the home countries were bad.
They actually weren't, in fairness. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can do it. We're going to do a sub bench anyway, so we can always have him on the sub bench. My personal pick would have been Tielemans. I think he really stepped up in this tournament to be the heartbeat of that Belgian team.
I mean, he ended up using the World Cup to get a fucking move to United. So Jesus Christ, that's worth it.
But I think it was by merit, to be perfectly honest. I think he actually was genuinely the best Belgian player at the tournament, by a fairly comfortable margin, in my opinion. So
yeah, go with that. Go with Tielemans.
Tielemans?
Yeah. I put the United hat on me here and just go, no, give me a United for this team.
Well, he's a Red Devil by nature now, I suppose, yeah.
He is a Red Devil by nature. He's gotten Casemiro's number, so he's got very big shoes to fill in. I'm not being sarcastic when I say it.
That's fair. Well, let's do our subs bench then. So you said about you said Alvarado for Mexico, so we can have him on our subs bench at the very least. So in that respect, then some of the other players that we haven't picked, Ashraf Hakimi will be on the bench hypothetically. If we're picking that, Matthias Galarza, the shithead that he is, would also make the bench. Because I think we've actually blocked out quite a lot of other choices. Either Van Dijk or Van Hecke, I think, will be a defensive choice as well. I picked Van Hecke, I think, on that one. Then we would have, who else we'd have? Ismaila Sarr, I think. I want the lobby for Sarr as well, because I think Senegal are really hard done by to be knocked out so early. But Sarr was an
Mm.
absolute fucking phenomenon at this World Cup.
I suppose
Very underrated.
you put Gordon in there, who's been, or even either Gordon or Rice. Can we do Gordon or Rice in the subs bench?
I suppose if we're keeping the rule for the suspension, then no, because we already have Bellingham.
Mm.
Um,
We can't put Elise in.
mm,
Can't put Van Dijk. Can't put Cushionero. Can't put. Sure.
yeah,
Uh,
we're again, we have other players from other teams that we can pick as well. In fairness, like
rank
I'm
out a
only
couple
going
of
by.
names there to me, and let's see if I can click something in my head.
Well, let's see. So what? Well, I'll go by country actually and see. I think we have a good representation of all the kind of the major teams in the tournament there. But let's see if any of them. So let's be representative here anyway. So we have our semi-finalists all represented. We have our quarterfinals all represented. We have our Swiss player. We have a Moroccan player on the bench, indeed. Um, so the only Canada pick I have is Steven Estacchio, who I think scored the match winner in the game that got them to the next round. Or I think they scored the winner against South Africa, I think. We don't actually have an Egypt player, um, funnily enough. And
Ooh.
I think the player that did impress me the most out of that, I want to get his name right again, just so I am correct in that. Um, what is his name? Wasn't Yeah, Hossein Hassan was the one that really impressed me from the Egypt setup.
Do you know what?
Salah didn't have a bad game himself, in fairness, but
If yeah, dude, let's put an Egypt player inside it just because it was so close to knocking out the Argentinians.
mm,
And if we can only do one country, I think they're probably the only other country I can keep my head, put my finger on that actually kind of like move stuff that we
yeah,
haven't
yeah.
already picked.
Well, let me make sure I
Yeah,
have the
let's
right
go.
goal scorer there. So let me see. It was no, I think I'm actually thinking of the wrong player. It is Emma Mashara was the one player I was thinking of who scored the goal against Australia, and Yasser Ibrahim. It was Zico. Zico was the player I was thinking of. Mustafa
Oh,
Zico.
Zico, yeah, because yeah, I made a joke to Clara. Like, that's not an Egyptian name.
Yes. So Mustafa
That's
Zico
a
was the
fucking
player I was
Brazilian
thinking of.
name.
Yeah. So he would be
Yeah.
one of our left winger choices. So that solves that conundrum. So Zico is there. So we are missing how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we need one more subs option left. So let's go back to my board here. So who else are we missing? It'll be the US or Canada as our last choice. So we put in Florian Balogun for the crack
Mm.
because he actually
Yeah,
was quite
fuck
good in
yeah.
fairness. Like,
Yeah, he
yeah,
was, to be fair. He was actually.
yeah,
Yeah, fuck it. Let's put him in there because, I mean, through no fault of his own, he was
yeah,
dragged into the fucking headlines. So, yeah, let's
yeah. To
go
be
for him.
fair,
Let's go for him.
yeah. Okay, there you go. So there's a subs bench for the World Cup as well. So we got no goalkeeper. We're taking some massive risks here. But however, we got Hakimi, Van Hecke, Balogun, Galarza, Alvarado, Sarr, and Zico as our subs bench. So
Can we not just pick
that
a
is,
goalkeeper? Will we not
let's pick
just
a
put Costa
goalkeeper.
in there? Yeah, because then we have
Uh,
8 subs. Because 7 is going to piss me off. It's not an even number. Go with Diego Costa as the goalkeeper. Even though technically we can't, because it
yeah,
technically
yeah.
breaks the rules. But rules were made to be broken, Charlie. And it'll also annoy me if we don't have it. Now put him down at the side properly, or it'll annoy me and I won't sleep up.
Just like just here, is it? Yeah, just
So, oh, that's lovely now.
I want to put him right beside
Oh,
Zico, so your OCD is thrown off
piss
there.
off.
Just
There's no armrest between
no,
them.
actually, I have a goalkeeper. I have a goalkeeper for this. I knew there's a Japanese player that I was so impressed by, and I was shocked that he didn't get the stats. Zion Suzuki, because I think he was brilliant against Brazil, and he was just so hard done by that that he lost that game. But he was absolutely fantastic. Like it was
Okay.
the knockout round was really a performance for goalkeepers. Because I was thinking of Nyland, I was thinking of Vozinha, but Zion Suzuki was brilliant. So yeah, he's our goalkeeper there of choice there. I'm quite glad Japanese have got some representation there, and they're well for it because they actually wore a good outfit. But there you go. There's our team of the tournament. There's our sub bench. Please, by all means, tear this apart in the comments. Give us your suggestions. We'd love to hear from you down the bottom of the line of what your team of choice is. So, with that in mind, let's crack on then with a little bit of a World Cup stat attack. Because I'm going to, you are a stat man, allegedly, Aaron. You like
I do like
you
a
know all
stat.
the other
I do like
stats.
a
You
good
do
stat.
like your questions. You do like your quizzes. So I have cobbled up uh, a question for each team in the tournament. A 48 question quiz. I'm only joking. No, I've only got 12.
Yeah, I was
I
about to
wouldn't do.
go. I was about to say, should fuck off. I need to go to bed at a decent time. Not everyone has
No,
a
you
day off
don't.
tomorrow, Jonathan.
Nonsense. The podcast will go on forever. But I've cobbled up 12 questions for you here. So we're going to see how many you get right. And then, by all means, considering that you are the only person that will be answering these questions, the people listening at home can see if they'll do better than you on this one without Googling. Don't cheat, listener. I know what you're fucking
Yeah,
like.
no one likes
Uh,
cheating,
yeah,
bastards.
bastards. Especially you, Steve. Fucking sick
God,
of
it'd
your
be
shit,
so
man.
funny. It'd be so funny if there was a Steve listener to this go, what the fuck did I do?
It's always funniest to just bully just a random name on a podcast, like you,
Okay.
Keith. You fucking know what you did, Keith.
He does sound like a D4 dickhead, so he probably does know
Yeah,
what he
exactly.
did.
That's fair, yeah. So yeah, we have 12 questions, all about the happenings at the World Cup. Let's see how many you get right. So we'll start off with question number one. Spain have been crowned the world champions after beating Argentina 1-0 in a tense and tedious final. And while some didn't fancy them to win the whole thing, it is true that they hadn't lost a competitive match in 38 games. Which country did they lose to in that match?
Scotland.
Is the correct answer. Scotland did
the,
inflict the
the
most recent loss in a
Yeah,
competitive match
the only
against Spain.
reason I knew that is because they don't they haven't shut up about it for the last fucking 4 or 5 days. And fair fucks to them,
I mean,
they don't
I
have a
would
lot of
too, in fairness, yeah.
yeah.
Now, I know there's going to be a few people listening going, actually, to this, because technically Spain have lost a match since against Colombia in a friendly. This is the key point: a competitive match, not actual
Okay.
tangible matches. Is what we're talking about here. So Aaron, you're off the mark. Well done. Next up, then, Argentina failed to defend their World Cup crown in what is likely the last hurrah internationally for Lionel Messi. Argentina have proven to be a very dramatic and controversial team throughout the competition, with perceived preferential treatment from FIFA and leniency from referees over their tactical fouling. But which country ended up having the worst disciplinary record of the competition?
Do you know what? If it wasn't Argentina, I actually don't know who it was. South Africa? They get 2 players sent off. Let's go with South Africa. I feel like they're yeah, let's go with South Africa.
Okay. Unfortunately, you are incorrect, Aaron. You should have trusted
Okay.
your gut. The correct answer was actually Argentina.
Oh fuck! You framed that question in such an arseholey way, dickhead.
Yeah. Again, over the competition. So, like, Argentina played all 8 games in the tournament, therefore more chance of cards. You are correct that South Africa did have
Yeah,
teams sent off, however, but
yeah.
considering they
No,
only
I
played
kind of just
four
thought to
games.
myself that they didn't also get like Argentina also got off with so much shit. I think my head was just like maybe
Well,
it wasn't them.
this is why I found it interesting, because there was so much like smoke about the fact that like they were getting preferential treatment and like they were getting away with murder, but actually they have been booked quite a lot. So they have 13 yellow cards, more than any other team, and of course the red card then for Menzo in the final. Um, the other two teams that I could mention here are Egypt and Paraguay. So FIFA have this kind of like disciplinary table. So it's obviously like a red card is worth 3 points and then yellow cards are
Mm,
worth one. So Egypt and Paraguay both have 12 on this scale, whereas Argentina have 16. So essentially, like Argentina were averaging 2 bookings per game, if you like, whereas Egypt and Paraguay would have had more, shall we say, yellow cards in the 5 matches they had.
mm-hmm.
But over the tournament, Argentina bagged the most. So hard luck there.
Okay, fair enough.
Next up, then, question number 3. France impressed many in the early stages of the competition, steamrolling all in their way until they met their kryptonite in the semi-finals against Spain. The consolation prize, however, was Kylian Mbappe securing the Golden Boot for the competition. But who secured the assist for the most? Who secured the award for the most assists in the competition? They really should come up with a name for that, like Silver Pass or something like that. Golden Pass or whatever.
Mm.
The
I'm going to go
triangle,
with
golden triangle button or something.
the only two players that I think could have done it would have been Elise or Messi. I feel like Elise was it. Didn't he get the most assists? I think he did. Coming out of the third place playoff. The silence is annoying.
You're gonna go with Elise?
I'll go with Elisa. Yeah, let's go with Elisa. Because he
And you're
seems like
correct.
the most obvious option. Yeah. I think it
Yes,
was
you were correct.
it was a third place playoff that kind of like solidified that from him short.
Yep. Elise, not only he absolutely annihilated the competition here.
Yeah.
I believe Harry Kane and Bellingham and I think Messi were all down for 4 assists. In this competition, but Michael Olise had 7. Practically an assist per game. For France, which is pretty damn good. So
Mm.
that is 2 out of the possible 3 correct for you, Aaron, so far. Next up then, question 4. Not France. Question number 4. England once again failed to bring football home as they had to settle with a bronze medal after a chaotic 6-4 win against France. Their campaign will be seen as a sequence of crucial wins, unfortunately timed injuries and suspensions, and ultimately a tactical mistake from the manager Thomas Tuchel. With all the rotations required to sustain their World Cup challenge, which 2 players didn't feature at all during the competition?
Have the fuck clue. Like that's pass.
Not even going to throw out some names, some England players.
Manu was one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with one of the backup goalkeepers. Who are the backup goalkeepers at there?
So the 3 goalkeepers that he brought with them, because he technically brought Jason Steele with them as a 4th keeper, but he wasn't part of the squad. So you had
Yeah,
Pickford, you
we
had
won't count
Henderson,
him.
and you
Yeah,
had Trafford.
Trafford.
Is the correct answer.
Yeah,
So Trafford
yeah.
and Mainoo were the 2 players that didn't feature
There
in
we
the
go.
tournament. Yep. It would have been Trevor Chalobah as well, but he featured for 1 minute. For 1 minute against Norway. So he got on and Kobe
Now,
Mainoo
I'm
didn't.
sorry, but how if there's one thing you could say about Manu, he
Mm,
shows up when he needs to show up. The
yeah.
man, the boy had a man of the match performance against Man City in a final of an FA Cup.
Hmm.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
How do you not play him
There you go. Well,
once?
that's the sort of questions you should be asking Tuchel as opposed to like, why didn't you win the Falcons for us, Thomas? That's the sort of stuff they should be asking. So yeah, 3 out of 4. Getting into question number 5. It was the end of the road for several legendary footballers such as Luka Modric and the much maligned Neymar, who all bowed out early into the competition, as did Cristiano
Ah,
Ronaldo, who despite his illustrious
ah.
club career, will end his international career with no World Cups to his name. A lot has been made about his negative impact on the Portuguese team having to play around him. What was the scoreline of the last competitive game that Ronaldo didn't feature in?
Jeez. I'm gonna go with they probably won, and they probably won by like 3 goals. So I'm gonna go with 3-0 or four
You know,
one
with
or
3
something
0.
like that. Yeah, we'll go with 3-0.
The correct answer was 9-1. Um,
Couldn't have gotten that any more wrong if I tried.
You were just off by a factor of 3 there.
Oh my god.
No, if you remember, sure, if you recall, in the World Cup qualifiers, he would have got sent off in the Viva by like elbowing Dara O'Shea,
Oh
and
yes.
then the game after they played Armenia in Armenia and they beat them 9-1, and that was the game that secured them World Cup qualification
Mm-hmm.
because they had fucked it in Dublin and left it to the last match. And again, people going home actually listen to this. They did have friendlies on the run up to this tournament, and he technically didn't play in the game against Mexico, which was a 0-0 draw. But again, competitive game, not friendly. So, next up then, question number 6. Norway lived up to the billing of a dark horse team as they navigated the difficult group and recorded massive wins against Cote d'Ivoire and Brazil. Embracing their cult following with their fans roaming across the USA and banging the drum with every victory, chief amongst their team was their British striker Erling Haaland, who bagged 7 goals in his first World Cup outing. But what souvenir did he bring back with him on the plane home to Norway?
Oh, a stuffed raccoon.
Is the correct answer.
Yeah, stuffed raccoon.
That was what a guy. Honestly, what a curious human being
I
he
can't
is.
I can't wait until he leaves Man City so I can actually like him again.
Yeah, his eventual move to Leeds is going to hit like crack. Um,
No, then I'm
so
gonna have to hate him even more.
yeah, that's true.
His
Yeah, yeah.
eventual move his eventual move to Real Madrid.
Yes, Real Madrid, Leeds, they're about the same. Just Galacticos in different fashion. So that is 4 to 6 so far, Aaron, as we reach the second half of the pod. And this will be the perfect time for hydration break if you haven't had one, by the way. Next up then is question number 7. The expanded format to a 48-team World Cup has been widely discussed and critiqued, with a lot of commentators speculating on the quality of the teams entering into knockout rounds of the competition, fearing it would dilute the high standard of the World Cup. The alleged minnows and debutants Capo Verde scoffed at the allegations with draws against the eventual winner Spain and ailing Uruguay before a climatic 3-2 loss to Argentina after extra time. Their journey, making players like Vozinha, Sidney Lopez Cabral, and Shamrock Rovers captain Pico Lopez into overnight sensations. How many players in their World Cup squad are free agents?
Okay, are we talking about free agents now or free agents before the World Cup started?
Both, because they would have been no different. They would have had been completely unattached when the World Cup started. So
The reason I
in
asked
the, in
that is
this,
because the goalkeeper has signed with a team now.
he has team now, but at the time of the World Cup, and essentially since I've checked,
I'm
like
gonna
after confirming it, basically when the World Cup squad was entered and they began the tournament, how many didn't have a club?
I'm gonna go with 4.
Can you name them?
Oh, Jesus, no.
You
No,
don't need to, because 4
no.
remarkably was the correct answer.
Ha!
Um,
Class!
yeah. So you were right
Okay.
about Vozinha. Vozinha was a free agent because he left that team in the Portuguese second division, when the World Cup started. The brothers Willie and Yannick Semedo were also free agents, as is team captain Ryan Mendes, who I want to say was at
He won't be a
Trabzonspor.
free agent for long.
No, he's gone to Prison FC with any luck.
He is going to
But
prison FC.
but yes, he was he I think he was in the Turkish league, and then he got recently released. Which remarkable enough, I think 3 other Capo Verdean players are actually in Trabzonspor. So if you want to go there for a bit
Oh,
of crack, yeah, there you go. Okay, so you're at 5 out of 7. Next up then, for every fairy tale story at the World Cup, there is a horror show for another. Several countries like Czechia and Uruguay were dumped out unceremoniously after some dismal displays in the group stages, allowing more competent and motivated teams to usurp them into the round of 32. Tunisia have had a World Cup to forget, and they now hold an unfortunate record on the back of their campaign. What is it?
sorry, repeat that there again because my brother texts me at the exact same time. Repeat that there again.
No problem. So, Tunisia have had a World Cup to forget, but they now hold an unfortunate record on the back of their campaign. What is it?
Do you know what? I've seen a lot of stats, a lot of fun stuff through this World Cup. That one I don't know. I can't give you an answer. I actually have
Okay,
no fucking idea.
give us a shot to there. Go on.
Least amount of wins in a knockout stage? I don't know. Least amount of goals scored at the World Cup. Or more, they
Okay.
got outscored by own goals or something. Something really
So
niche
like
like that.
-1 or -2 or something. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
overall the World Cup was just crap. The last couple have been just so bad. They've conceded more than they've actually scored or something like that.
fair. Okay. You know what, that genuinely wasn't a bad shout. And I think if I ran the numbers, they probably would have a goal different. They would have a goal score of -2. But I think they did bag 2 own goals in the tournament. But no, the correct answer was Tunisia have spent the longest time in a losing position at a World Cup. So
Oh God.
they conceded in the 7th minute in the first game, the 4th minute in the second game, and the 3rd minute in the last game, which meant they spent about 4.5 hours losing a match at the World Cup, which is an
That's not
all-time
what you
record.
want. Yeah, that's awful.
Yeah. I think they've
Jesus.
also set a record for the most goals conceded at a World Cup as well. I think Zaire or possibly Saudi Arabia had the record before them because they get absolutely
I'm going to
annihilated
go with
in those games.
I'm going to go with Saudi Arabia because I feel like they're from like 2 or 3 World Cups. They were the whipping boys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, possibly. Okay then. So, question number 9. The host nations of the USA, Canada, and Mexico all bowed out at the round of 16, all taking respective headlines as a result. Canada had the flailing and performative Jesse Marsh silenced by a ruthless and professional Morocco team. Mexico proved England's mettle with a classic World Cup affair at the Azteca, while the US's campaign was going great until President Trump stuck his tiny-handed oar in and lobbied for a red card to be rescinded, only for Belgium to give the team a hiding of a lifetime.
That's
Now,
like they did not let them fucking like even remotely have a chance. Fair fucks
no,
them.
definitely not. The question is, which country from North and Central America, if you like, the CONCACAF region, has gone the furthest into the World Cup in its history? And if you're not sure in
The
geography, if you tell me what country you think, I'll let you know if that's the right region or not.
well, CONCACAF takes everything from Honduras up.
Pretty much, yeah.
See, I listen to the geography.
Fair play
I'm
to you.
gonna go with I think the Mexicans probably went the furthest out of all of them. But if it's the US in like some 50s World Cup and it was like 6 teams and a win would get you to the final, I'm gonna slap you through the screen.
Mexico honestly was a good shout because Mexico got to the quarterfinals twice in their history. You could
Mm.
have also had Costa Rica, who got to the quarterfinals in 2014. But the correct answer was, in
Oh.
fact, the USA in the first ever World Cup in 1930 when they made the semi-finals.
Oh.
There was
I'll
24
slap you
teams that
next
played.
week.
You won't remember this. But yeah,
That's
so
true.
the USA are statistically the most successful CONCACAF team at the World Cup because no other team have made it as far as they did in the first comp. Again, in the first World Cup is as best as they've done, which is hilarious. Um, so yeah, question number 10. As mentioned earlier, President detestable Donald Trump couldn't resist but involve himself in proceedings that his willing submissive stooge Gianni Infantino actively encouraged. Whether it be hand waving the nationality-based visa checks or random searches of national team coaches, or the collective shrug as the Iranian team were made to travel across countries in order to participate while the hosts bombed their home country. Sadly, politics and the World Cup have been intertwined since the very beginning. But the last time a foreign politician interfered with a game of football was in 1982, where he demanded a goal be chalked off for his country. Can you name the country involved?
Oh my god, I know this one. And it's one of those small teams as well. It's like a Zaire or I think it's one of the African teams that had a dictator. Oh my god. This is like the pig hole Lopez thing from earlier. I know the information, I know it's nuts, and I can't. And I think it's one of those nuts African countries that had a dictator there for like a lot of the 60s and 70s once they got rid of the Queen as their head of state. I think it's one of those countries as well at the top of my head.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you said Zaire there, so is that your pick? Is it?
Yeah, let's go with that. Because there's something in my head there that thinks that their president went on the pitch. Somewhere there in my head.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go with
Well,
Zaire.
so again, you had the hazy memory right, but I think there was a few things missing there. So it was in a game against France. They were 3-1 up, and then they scored a fourth goal. But the players of this team stopped playing because they thought they heard a whistle, and basically just let the goal go in. So at that point, they were all outraged, and it wasn't the president of the state, but it was the president of their Olympic Commission that took to the pitch, and he was part of the royal
Okay.
family. So the correct answer was actually Kuwait that this
Ah,
happened. So it was a game against France versus Kuwait that you were thinking of. But yeah, that's the last time that an actual foreign politician basically stood on the pitch and went, "Nope, fix it," and
yeah. No.
pulled his team off the pitch. Yeah. So bad luck there. Question number 11. The World Cup is often where players become stars and prodigies and displayed to the wider world, with many players finding their fame playing for their country against the world's finest. While this year's tournament has been about players very much at the end of their journey, which country featured the youngest player in the competition in their squads?
This was something I read at the start of the World Cup or somewhere before the round of 16.
Now, I should say this player is not the youngest ever player to feature at the World Cup, but he's the
Just the
youngest in
youngest at
this
the World
tournament.
Cup, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you don't have to name the player, just the
Uh,
country.
was it Canada? No, it's not. I'm gonna go with Spain. Something they're telling me it's Spain. So they have quite a young team.
Okay. Is
Yeah,
there
let's
a
go with
Spanish
Spain.
player? You're going with Spain? Okay.
There's no
So,
Spanish player in my head, but I feel like there's a Spanish Spain was the one that done that. Yeah. Yeah, let's go
okay.
Spain.
Um, you were actually closer with your original pick in Canada because the correct answer was Mexico.
Ah,
So in the Mexican team, what the Mexican team that did feature was Gilberto Mora, who played at 17 years, 240 days. So he was the youngest player
yeah,
to feature
fun.
in the competition. And he is very much like the biggest star in Mexican football at the minute. He is the one they're all hoping they'll will make it to the very top. So no pressure, like just get it done.
Mm.
So um, so we're into our final question. It's still 5 out of 11, so right. So let's see if you can make even and go 50-50. With their second World Cup victory, Spain have also made history by being the first country to be both holders of the men's and women's World Cup after the women's victory against England in Australia and New Zealand in 2025. Can you name the other country that have won both the men's and women's World Cup in their history?
The, oh,
So there's only
Brazilians.
one other country that's able to win both men's and women's
It's
in
either
their
the
history.
Brazilians or the French. I feel like the French women don't have it. I don't remember a star being above their crest when they played at a Tata Stadium. So I'm
Mm.
gonna go with the Brazilians.
The Brazilian is a very Brazil is a very very good guess, um, but unfortunately it is not right. They have never won the women's World Cup. Um,
I'm trying to
the
think
correct answer
because I
actually
know
was
before you say it,
yeah.
because the only countries I can think that have won the women's one,
Mm,
but I know the men's definitely haven't done it. Is like the Swiss and the US.
mm.
So it must be a European team. So it's either going to be like the Italians, the French, and if it's not, that Spain have now done it. So either the Italians, the French, or the Germans.
No, the correct answer was actually Germany.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All
So
right, let's
Germany, I
go.
think, won it in 19. I think they were back-to-back winners in 1995 and 1999. I will double check those dates just to be sure. Because I think they might have been able to do what Spain did and go back to back or go men's and women's winners as well. Let me just double check that. Yes, actually, they were winners in 2003 and 2007. Um, and then
Okay.
they ended up hosting
Right.
the tournament in 2011. But yes, they were
Oh,
back-to-back winners in the 2000s as opposed to the 90s, which is why that still
okay.
tracks. In
Okay.
fact, there's only been four countries that's won the Women's World Cup in their history, which is USA. They're the kind of four-time winners of the competition.
Mm-hmm.
Norway won the second Women's World Cup. That was in Sweden. And Japan won that in 2011 in
Oh, okay.
Germany. And Spain are the
I
most
so
recent
I
new
was
addition
kind of
to
right
it.
with one of those Scandinavian countries. I just went with the
Yep.
Swiss instead of the Norwegians. I knew it was
Yeah.
one of them.
I think you're probably thinking of the Swedes as opposed to the Swiss.
Sorry, yes, the Swedes. Yeah, the Swedes. For
Yeah.
some reason in my head, they are like a. Would they be like the female version of the Dutch men's team?
Well, they finished third place like four times in their history. So maybe ish.
Yeah.
They never made it to a final, so we don't know.
Okay, fair
Actually, that's
enough.
a lie. They actually have made it to a final. They made it to the final in 2003, where they lost to Germany in the end. So yeah, I suppose you can kind of count them as the Dutch of women's football. Do you know what? I'll leave that to the experts to decide on that one. um, But yes, so Germany with the right answer there. So Aaron, you scored 5 out of 12 there, which is considering the level of the questions there, I actually think that was a pretty good score.
And
So
it still annoys me that that question ended up with the Americans in the very first World Cup. Fuck off. That's just
yeah.
annoying.
Yeah, I know. That's the fun bit. But yeah. So to wrap up our pod then, will be a quick serving of our World Cup cards.
Cristiano Ronaldo is a cod. I don't care what it goes. I mean, you can't beat it.
You seem exceedingly smug about the idea of people, kids particularly.
Your little. He's the guy. He ran away and left his wife for a young one.
So Aaron, we picked our cards at the start of the World Cup to see if they would ding in time to see if they're the correct answers. Now we can go for fresh cards here now at the moment, but I suppose I'll start off with the one I had at the start of the tournament, which was Cristiano Ronaldo, and I'm moderately happy to stick to him as my cards for the World Cup.
Yeah,
That being
I was going to
said,
go with him as well, to be honest.
yeah, like there's been other candidates as well, so we might mention a couple. I know we had highlights and lowlights earlier on the pod, so I don't want to repeat myself. But in terms of actual cards, as in people who've been kind of found out at this tournament, I think Ronaldo's an easy one to kind of pick out there because
Mm-hmm.
that one was so inevitable in that respect. I think we were even talking about it because I think they were already out by the time we had done our most recent pod. So the fact that like they were eliminated at such an early venture, I don't think was a shock to anybody. And the person that should shock the most is probably Ronaldo himself. But the sad part is that I don't think he has that
Mm-hmm.
self awareness to realize that he is the
Oh, no,
problem.
he doesn't. He
And I think
doesn't.
that is the saddest part about the whole thing is that like he really should know better that he is the reason why. Because I'm even thinking to myself, if that Portugal team didn't have the Ronaldo, let's just say they didn't grovel and lobby to have him as part of this World Cup. If Portugal were going into the tournament without him, let's just say, how far do we think this Portugal team could have got
They would have
in the
done.
pattern
They
that he
would have
had?
done. Honestly, they would have done a whole lot better. They could have made a quarters of the semis. Because
Yeah.
on paper, that team is fucking class.
Mm.
It's just, it's one of those things where they're too caught up with Ronaldo syndrome. And the next manager that's coming in, apparently he's not going to change tack on that either.
That was
Because he
it's
managed,
Georgie Jesus he's now in
yeah,
there, and he's
because
mental. He is genuinely
he
fundamentally cracked. So we'll see with that.
and he loves Ronaldo because he managed them at Al
Al
Hilal?
Nasser.
No,
Al Nasser.
Al Nasser. So
Mm.
nothing's going to fucking change there until Ronaldo actually retires from football. He's at least, I think he at least gets to the Euros. Now, whether that will be his wake up call to just stop is not going to happen. But maybe he might have people around him going, come on, you're kind of done here. Like at that top level. Unless he goes to the MLS and does the retirement tour at a slightly better league than what he currently is at now. But even at that, the guy you finished, just end it now. We all know Messi's going to probably retire from international football. I think we're just kind of waiting for the World Cup to die down and the summer transfer window to kind of kick on before he just goes unfinished. But like, Portugal as a country are never going to move on from Ronaldo unless he actually tells him, don't pick me anymore. I'm retiring. And even at that, I still think he'd probably get picked.
See, that is the part that baffles me so much because I'm even thinking back to our own kind of like, do you know what you actually mentioned? You kind of were a bit of a harbinger there earlier on. You talked about Harry Kane with England. And I think a lot of people came to the kind of same realization in the English media is that they don't have a natural deputy or a kind of player in waiting for Harry Kane in the England squad because they don't have they well I suppose the kind of the central argument with the Premier League as well is that there's not many opportunities for um young players anymore, in a sense that they have to be kind of up and ready, which
Mhm.
hopefully might change now with the next couple of years. But the fact that England have gone into a kind of competition with all the kind of strikers around the same age is like not necessarily the worst thing in the world. But when you do then drill down and you say, "Oh, hang on, this is like Watkins is going to be towards the tail end of his run when Kane retires, whether it be in the Euros or the next World Cup," because I think Kane could possibly go certainly to the Euros, but I'm not sure if he'll ever make it to the next World Cup.
No, I don't
So
think he will.
yeah, so like I'm even looking now. If I was looking at say the under 21s now at the moment, um, there's no natural striker in that team. A lot of these
There,
players
I
are.
think the FA as well will probably very much, I wouldn't say banking on it, but
Mm,
kind of hoping that Delac would be the next. Okay, it's like, okay, we don't have to worry about this now because it's banging it in for Chelsea. And
yeah.
Delac just screams of a loan deal after another bad season to the championship team that wins the championship next year.
Mm,
He just
it-
screams. It's just like, we'll put him out for a year there and just hope that it works out. But
yeah.
other than that, he Chelsea got absolutely fucking rinsed in that deal.
Mm.
And I just don't see anybody. I don't see any other strikers that could take a
Uh,
spot.
well, I think the best possible chance they have is Ethan Waneri, and the advantage there is that he is like will be a very central piece of the Arsenal puzzle. Whatever happens to him now when he comes back from
Mm,
Marseille, I know his kind of run there in Marseille wasn't the best, but he still scored 2 and 9, so like there's still a pretty decent return. Um,
mm.
but again, their options there really are not that great. So the fact that they
Like
are going to be
the
going
only
in, yeah,
on pure talent alone, there's only
mm,
one person that currently is good enough to play for that England side, but he can't, and that's Mason Greenwood. He was the replacement,
yeah, and and
but you
and
can't
and
play
again,
him.
you can't play him, no, and again, he's declared for Jamaica now, so it's all the one. Um, my kind of the upshot of my kind of point here is that um England are not going. I don't think England, even though they know they're going to have a frailty up front and they're not going to have a natural striker, they're kind of going to go through what Spain did after their kind of World Cup travails in 2010. That they don't have a David Villa or a Fernando Torres up front to
Mm,
just be a focal point for the team. They got Alvaro Morata, who is such a downgrade on those players, but
yeah.
positionally, he will do. Because all the strength that we have is going to be in number 10s. England, in particular, have this issue where they keep developing the same player out and over and over again, and because they didn't have any of them 5 years ago. Now they got too many of them. Like there was a time where they had absolutely no number 10s in the team because all their best players were
Mm,
Scholes, Lampard, Gerrard, like 5, 10 yards behind them. So now they've got like they've got Phil Foden, Cole Palmer, Jude Bellingham, all number 10s, and you can't all play them in the same position. You're like,
mm,
as much as I love Harvey Elliott, he might as well declare for his fucking grandmother's nation, whatever that is, because he's not going to get a sniff in that England team. So that this is part of the kind of the problem with a lot of these teams is that they know that they're going to have a frailty, but they're just going to roll with it. Portugal can't keep doing that to themselves because they're just going to spite an
no.
entire generation of players. You know, you said there at the start of the whole thing that you would have loved Bruno Fernandes to be a World Cup winner. It's just not going to happen until this port, and I don't think it's ever going to happen for
I
him now,
would have just
unfortunately.
I know it's not. It's not. I would have just wanted Fernandez after the first couple of games to at least say he was a World Cup quarter finalist
Yeah.
and he wasn't it wasn't a fucking disaster.
Mm.
But we can't even get that.
Yeah.
Like we can't like Ronaldo's a fucking no. Your time's up. Finish it. Be done. You're
Yeah.
ruining one of the best teams in the world because of your fucking ego.
Yeah.
And if you didn't win you won't even win in this World Cup. If you would won the last one or got far enough in
Mm.
that one, it would have been better off. He didn't.
Yep.
It's just
Yep.
and
Absolutely.
I love Ronaldo. I love the man so much. He's one of my favorite Premier League players ever for United. Um, but he's definitely got too many yes men around him. And whatever
Yeah.
entourage that he
That's fair.
has, they're just in his ear, just going, "Ah, you're class, though. You don't have to give up at all." Okay, I guess.
I suppose it shows you how you're able to con yourself to the actual truth when like there is empirical evidence that you are not good enough to play at an international level anymore, and yet you're still here. It's quite incredible.
Mm.
What about yourself, Aaron? What's your cut from the whole World Cup? Because you went with the playing, you went with the kind of the facilities and the stadiums and pitches and stuff like that. For what it's worth, I think that actually turned out all right. Now,
It did.
there's a
It did.
lot of players that have kind of weird back injuries and strains and like kind of like feel like wear downs as opposed to like I think Declan Rice is in bits as well. I think that's a combination of having
Yeah.
to be driven to the ground by Arsenal
Declan
and then
Rice is
having to
in
play the
bits.
work as well. Yeah,
Declan Rice is in bits, and also Saliba's in bits. He's only here for like what 4 months.
yeah, and
So the two
Rodri
of
needs
them for
back
Arsenal
surgery as
alone,
well. Yeah,
two of them alone for Arsenal is just like, oh fuck, shit.
yeah,
Um, I would. I do you know what? Let's just go with Argentina in general
okay,
because I love shite backs. I love
mm,
when players take the piss. They might not be any good sometimes, but I love when they're just absolute shitheads. It's like
yeah,
you're making it at least somewhat fun, I suppose. But they weren't even likable. They're
mm,
just sluts. Like if Messi went in that team, I think they would have been killed at one point. Like they're
yeah.
just absolute fucking arseholes. I'm so glad. Like I'm glad they beat England for that meltdown, and that was all fun. That was fun for a couple of days. But if they had won that World Cup, it would have tarnished Messi a little bit
Mm,
if they had actually done it. Like barring all the Falklands thing and stuff like that, that's just two
yeah,
nations in a rivalry, and Argentina knew when to push the right buttons in the right for the right country. But
mm,
just a desperate team to watch. They didn't
yeah,
deserve to get as far as they did. The Egyptians should have knocked them out. The Egyptians should have really knocked them out because they didn't deserve. On sporting merit, technically they did, and
mm,
absolutely everything else as human beings, they did not deserve to get anywhere near where they got in that tournament.
mm,
Arseholes.
yeah.
I don't think anyone really expected that either beforehand
It is quite
because they weren't.
isn't it quite remarkable how quick the goodwill went with this Argentina setup? Well, like once they
Like what?
because there
Three
was
games
such
in?
a not even now. I was thinking from the previous World Cup. Now that Messi has got his World Cup win, but I think like even I don't know whether it's to do with him just having like a bish thrown on him and stuff like that, and how like it all felt a little bit like a kind of like okay, like everyone applaud the leader. The leader is good. Leader is great. He's now wearing a World Cup and now leave us alone type of thing. It was that there's a kind of an air to it that like okay, it was almost like he's got to get his World Cup now fuck off type of thing. Let's move on to the
Yeah.
next kind of like next fad in a sense. Where like I can imagine that Ronaldo was like looking at it going like, oh, it's my turn next. I should win my World Cup now, and we know how well
Mm,
that went. But the sheer problem with the Argentina team is that I think they genuinely could have been. They chose to go down this road and to be to play the style that they did. And whether it was a fact that like they knew they weren't good enough, so they had to batten down the hatches and to like to to be the thuggish kind of players that they were. Like I know some teams might look at that and go, well, that's just like good old fashioned Italian fucking catenaccio. You just like, batten down the hatches, men behind the ball, break up play. It's like
mm.
there's a difference in that. Like call for every foul, absolutely, but like Messi trying to get Cucurella sent off because he sneezed. Are we fucking
Yeah.
serious here?
Yeah.
Like this
That
is
that's
that's
yeah.
a cultural thing that seeped into the team very early on. Like you could see that like no, I think their group started to deceive them, and we kind of had that discussion already why some of them were a
Mm,
bit of a walkover. So the moment they felt like genuine competition in knockouts was Cape Verde. And again, Cape Verde didn't do anything controversial. They just had a plan. They had a way of
mm,
playing and it works. It clicked. And the fact that Argentina were having such trouble with that, I think says more about them that they didn't have their shit together. So in that respect, fuck knows what happens to them now because I think they've invested so much physically and emotionally into this World Cup that I think it's going to take a long time for them to recover.
Oh, they're
Um,
going to go through at least a World Cup, maybe two of just hitting a low, where they might
yeah,
make like a second round or a quarterfinals. I mean, it's round of 16 in the quarterfinals, but like there's like a it's going to be a bit of a shift there now
Mm.
because when you win a World Cup because of one player, it's different. It's kind of different than winning a World Cup as a team. Like you can
Yeah.
never say Spain and their lull were bad. They were just ugly to watch, but they were
Yeah.
still good.
Tedious. Yeah.
They were
It was
tedious,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. It evolved
And now you're
into
getting,
extinction. Yeah.
yeah, and now and that was fine. But
Yeah.
Argentina losing Messi is like when they lost Maradona.
Mm.
Really, Argentina didn't do much. I weren't really a force again until what 2005, six.
You could argue that the Bielsa generation maybe should have done better. There
Yeah,
were some very very good
okay.
players in there, like a front line of Hernan Crespo and Gabriel Milito would probably should have done better than they should have. Kind of way. And again,
Hmm.
decent midfielders in Varane, decent defenders in Zanetti. I nearly forgot his name there. But the Argentina always had the problem for me that they never had a complete team. Like every time I saw them at the World Cup, is that I always thought to myself, if they had a genuinely good world class goalkeeper, they win a World Cup because they have everything
Hmm.
else perfect. Um, and then in comes Emi Martinez, and almost like by magic, they win a World Cup. I know Messi gets the headlines in a sense, but like really, really, it's down to the fact that like they had water carriers in midfield like McAllister and
Yeah.
DePaul, which they didn't have originally. They always had midfielders that went for glory, either went for glory or they were bastards. Kind of way. Like it is it is that kind of like that duality of like you either have a Varane or you have a Mascherano. You didn't have both at the same time, but now you have that ability that advantage of saying we have exactly the type of midfielder we want. We have the exact type of defenders we want. Maybe a bit of a weakness in fullback, but that's fine. We don't play wingbacks anymore in this modern age.
Hmm.
We now have a goalkeeper that can actually, has some level of bottle. So we have everything we need
Hmm.
now. Like I said, like this, it's that sort of aspect. Do you count that as a golden generation or just the stars aligning so that you can win a competition? Again, you don't get a prize for having the best squad, in a sense, because if that was the case, France would have won this hand over fist.
Hand over
But what you
fist,
do
yeah.
have is you win the tournament by playing the best football and being the best team, and that's why Spain got there. Argentina can play the best football in 10, 15 minutes, but they chose to act the bollocks for the majority of those matches. And
Mm.
that's the frustrating thing, is that they could be so defeatist and so got down and out that they had to be bailed out by their messianic like captain every single time. I was like, there's only so many times you can do that before it gets a bit like tedious. You just have to like
Mm.
block that player out and you're done. So yeah, no, I think like to kind of boil it down. Do you think it was more down to players or down to Scaloni engineering too much of a dependence on Messi? Do you think that comes from the players or from him? Do you think, or just the overall kind of vibe with Argentina?
The overall vibe,
Yeah. Okay.
the overall vibe, because it, fine if they didn't win the last one, you would say okay,
Yeah.
there is an over dependence on Messi, but they won it with the over dependence on Messi, and they got to the semi-finals with that too, as
Yeah.
being Scots on top of it.
Okay.
But I don't think you could really blame the manager for that. I think he
Mm.
played the whole Messi card very well.
Yeah, yeah, he got
I
the belt
think
out of him. You can't deny that.
he got the best out of him, and he also as well managed to not let it overtake everything else.
Mm.
Like if he's asked, obviously he's going to go. Of course, Messi's my best player. Like
Yeah.
if you ask the manager of Portugal, well, I'm not going to say his name because he's like Voldemort committing war crimes, but he would say that Ronaldo's his best player. But the difference in between the two of them is just that we want Messi to win this because we love him.
Mm.
You don't get that. I genuinely do not think you get that from Portugal. I don't think you get that from Portugal.
Yeah, that's
They're
fair
doing it
enough.
because he's a wreckhead. You
Mm.
just want him to shut up for 5 minutes, give him what he wants.
Yeah.
Whereas Messi was with Argentina and Messi, there's a lot more love, I think, in that team.
Mm.
So yeah, that kind of does help.
I have a jokey cut as well to throw in here. I don't know if you have one as well.
Mm.
Someone that kind of like that enjoyed that. You are a shit poster, Aaron. I think you don't mind me saying that about you as
No,
well.
not at
But
all. I'm a shit poster in everything I do.
yeah,
Here,
exactly.
work, online.
But I will say, I think you might have mentioned matching in the punditry world because there's, I suppose, this is for us if you're a international listener and we are Irish. I don't know if you can tell from the accents,
Hmm.
and our coverage can be at sometimes quite good historically. Like we've always had very very good pundits, whether it be the three
Yeah.
wise men of or the three amigos as they would have been called in Dunphy, Brady, and Giles. Two of the best players that we've ever made, and Eamon Dunphy. And you have to be fair, he'd say that himself. But
He probably would, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, he would.
but he was also one of the best like football writers we ever had as well. In fairness, so
Mm.
and then you had basically a host absolutely winding them up with like conversation topics and knowing how to get the best out of them. So punditry, I think, has always been a bit of a kind of staple in on Irish TV for the World Cup, and naturally with everything that's gone on with RTE, like they've been trying to do things on a shoestring budget and doing it as much as they can. But I think they've actually had a very good World Cup in terms of the punditry wise. There've been actually some very, very good talking heads. Pico was on after his elimination. Carla Ward was a
Mm.
fantastic insight, having an actual international manager on board and basically saying, yeah, these lads are actually these are quite good, these are crap. Like that they just need to do better in this sort of thing. It's like or like she was really sticking the boot into Infantino, and I'm thinking to myself, is this why it's a good? Is this why women's football is so pure? Because he actually doesn't pay attention to it. You can actually say what you want, and you're not going to get
Maybe,
repercussions for it. You
maybe
know?
actually, yeah, that could actually be something to it as well. Yeah, that actually makes
Yeah.
sense.
Like he doesn't pay attention to the women's game, so therefore you have some level of editorial freedom. It's fascinating. But Kenny Cunningham was the chief shit poster of the punditry world, and I know like BBC and ITV had a couple of stinkers in their midst as well. But Cunningham was by far and away the biggest offender there. But I think everything he said, I think, was specifically designed to wind up Richie Sadlier in particular, because Sadlier is kind of like he's clearly the most intelligent person in the room, including all the production staff. You know, like the
Hmm.
guy has an actual career outside of football. He doesn't need to be doing this punditry shit. But what's fascinating is that like Sadlier is trying to stand for like the actual kind of principles and the ethics and the morals of the competition. He's saying how disgraceful the Somalian referee not being allowed in. These hydration breaks are bad for football. He was making absolutely fantastic points. And Kenny Cunningham there, like a grumpy uncle at a wedding, going, there should be 64 teams. Let's have more football, more teams. Come on. Third place teams is nice. 64 teams. Come on. Let's do it. Come on. And like literally was the most contrarian human being ever said. Like, if you said to Kenny Cunningham, you know what? That Cristiano Ronaldo player, I think you can win the World Cup here. Or I don't think he'll ever win the World Cup. Nah, he's brilliant. He's gonna win the World Cup 100%. That sky there,
It's just
Kenny, I think that's red. It's like, nah, I think you're right there. I think it is red. I think it could be yellow actually. The more I look at it, it's like, it's Christ. He was just one of those people that just like he had to yes and people.
yeah, yeah, I get what you mean.
Just and it was hilarious because like he genuinely have a face there like a fucking bulldog's arse, on the sofa. Is like this guy gets paid to talk about football. This is a dream job for some people, and he genuinely looks just like he's been slapped before they started. Um,
The two extremes of one another. Like I do enjoy Richie Sadler as well because he's well liked enough to a point where somebody said tomorrow he was fired from RT, he'd be just like,
mm,
ah, fuck, he was quite good.
yeah,
But at the same time, he's also kind of bulletproof
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
if it did sack him in the morning, it's just like, oh, okay, what the fuck do I care? Like I got my own things. I don't need this job in a
Yeah,
sense.
exactly.
So I
Yeah.
think it does give him like a bulletproof vest to kind of say what the fuck he wants, which
Mm,
is enjoyable.
yeah.
Like it really is enjoyable because sometimes when you listen to him, it's just like you're a fella that knows what he's on about, but also doesn't have to like tread a line. You
No.
just say it.
Um. I think my favorite moment of the whole thing was Kevin Doyle, who very much regretted doing a triple shift on one of the nights because he was doing three games and I think one of the games got delayed then for a thunderstorm. So then you could kind of see him working out in real time that this match is not going to be over until 3 a.m. and he has to drive home to Wexford. And
You
like the
think
guy,
you think that fucking someone on RT would have went take the hotel room because they're doing a triple shift, but no, you definitely know that they cheaped out in it and when like here's a friendly ring.
absolutely. Yep, definitely, 100%. And the fact that like you can see that there was bags on the bags of his eyes, and he dropped a C word by accident, and it was just a wonderful, wonderful time.
Yes, I remember
Um,
that. That was good. That was
you
good.
know,
Was waking up the
so
next morning and seeing all the tweets and just like, did Kevin Dodd just say content RT? What? What's going on?
um, but yeah, I think that's a. Do you know what? On the other punditry side of the world, can we call Jurgen Klopp a bit of a cod, or did he manifest a cod with Nagelsmann? Because kind of mission accomplished there from that kind of
I
whole
didn't. I
thing, isn't
didn't hear
it?
much of it. I know he was quite good to some people, but I obviously don't be watching Sky Deutschland, so I guess I have missed
Well,
it.
it was T-Mobile's network Magenta. He was actually doing the punditry with. They got the rights to the
Okay.
World Cup in Germany, and so it was him and Thomas Muller doing the punditry. So it just seemed like they were kind of taking the kind of Carragher and Richards and Henri mold from CBS and trying to have more fun. But
He, by the way, Mickey Richards quit all of his punditry roles,
yeah, he's sticking to just doing the rest of football
which
stuff because now they're on Netflix.
which I mean, he must have been offered some money not to give that up. A fair fuck to him.
He has personal reasons as well because his dad did pass away very recently as well while he was on live TV. So
Ah,
I think there's a
nice.
mixture of personal and private reasons there, and also like they've got to get themselves a sweet fucking Netflix gig where they don't have to do fuck all. Like,
To be
yeah,
fair,
why
they
not?
have, yeah, good, yeah, fair
Yeah,
fuck to them. And
yeah.
we're all happy for Gary Lineker because he
Oh
pisses off
yeah,
all the right people.
yep, absolutely. I mean, Jesus, the again right side of history there, but yeah, I think Nagelsmann. If I didn't stick to my Ronaldo card, I think Nagelsmann's my card for the World Cup. Just
Yeah,
100% totally found out, and I think the German media knew how shit he was at the job, so they took a bit of pride in nailing him to the perch because I think they
getting him the sack, like yeah.
yeah because I think they'd heard that basically he was so hands off with the players that he was like almost a completely absentee, um and that like that sort
That
of stuff
doesn't
like
really,
all yeah
yeah, that
doesn't
doesn't really
sound
work.
well.
I think with it, it doesn't work with international football. It
No,
works in
no,
club
definitely not.
football because it's a little bit different. Because I mean, that's basically Ancelotti's thing.
Whole thing, yeah. I think he was trying to
Yeah,
be
his whole
Ancelotti,
bit.
but he couldn't really, yeah. Any other
I mean, there's
cards,
only
Aaron, you wanted to throw into the mix?
no, nothing else. It's also really fucking late, so that's the reason I'm saying nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, we already gave out about Trump and Infantino in this. I mean, like, and the
Yeah.
hydration breaks, I think, are thankfully not going to follow suit. So that's something we leave. Halftime show was shit.
Mhm.
We don't need that either. So yeah, I think we're
Oh,
good.
let's put another funny one in. Wayne Rooney calling the halftime song crap.
That was good.
That was brilliant. That was very good.
That was
Really
good.
enjoyed that.
That was good. Yes.
Actually, you know
Again,
what?
voice of the people.
Overall, Rooney was brilliant. He's found his thing now. I think he's done with management. I think the Birmingham gig definitely kind of just like killed that off for
Mm,
him, and he looks healthier.
yeah.
And as a he's my favorite player I've ever seen play for United. Like, there's
Mm.
no one close. I'm so happy he doesn't look like he's on the verge of a heart attack every other week. Because when he was in management, it did not suit him at all. He just
No,
turned
he
into
looked
that
very
like
unhealthy. Yeah.
he did, and he looked really healthy through this whole tournament. And he also was legitimately very good as well. Like, he's a
Yeah.
very good pundit. I think that's where he needs to stay now. Because at least then
Mm.
if they go, well, he never managed the game, he doesn't know what it's like, but he did. Now, granted, it was Derby, Birmingham, and Plymouth, but still,
Yeah.
and DC United
Uh,
there for a bit.
I think ITV struck gold with Emma Hayes doing the kind of the
Emma Hayes
very
as well was another good one, yeah.
doing the kind of American style like halftime like the tactics truck that Andy Townsend used to do.
Yeah.
And basically, the more that like the gammon were kind of giving out about a woman telling them how football works, she basically was like painting a bigger middle finger on her back with each one. Like it was like she if she wasn't the manager of the American national team, who would surely be winning the World Cup next year, my God, they'd move heaven and earth to have her as a pundit because she
You,
absolutely knows more football
do
than
you
people will
think
forget.
she's going to be the first one to get a gig in England with a men's team
She was very
if she
close. She
wins
was
the
on
World
the
Cup?
she was interviewed for the Wimbledon job
Yeah,
before
I
she
remember
took
that. Yeah,
yeah and I think she was in the running for the ironic enough the Milton Keynes job as well.
and I know Gary
So
Lineker put it forward for the Leicester job as well. He was like, get her when they
yeah,
went down to the championship.
Yeah,
I
definitely. I
hope
think
she does because clearly she's not. A lot of female pundits tend to, especially when they're in like. Remember Hope Solo did it with RTE
and she
and
was awful.
Dunphy. She was awful, but
Mm,
she had so much behind her, winning a couple of World Cups and stuff. It was like I can see why they did it. With Emma
yeah,
Hayes, not only is she good at it, she clearly has a footballing win.
yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if she gets a championship or maybe a higher end League One job if she
Mm,
were to manage to win the World Cup for the US. Because, like, if Leicester don't go up, let's say, it's not a bad show. If they don't get out of League One and they need a manager
mm.
that's going to want to change things, I pick her.
Yeah, yeah. Well, as is
I'd
often
die
the
in
case, like
that.
it just needs someone to go to break to open the door and actually survive as
Mm,
well. And like I know there's a few kind of clubs that are kind of trying to do that as well, but yeah, it's tricky. But as someone who at least has like some level of kind of like like not credibility, but like there's enough people that would have watched IPTV's coverage and seen how good she is actually as
mm-hmm.
someone who understands the game. Again, you forget how many like actual like club people, as in like directors of football and like sport directors, all these people who are involved in the hiring and firing of staff. They look at someone like that going like, Jesus, she's a better fucking chatter talker than the fellow that we have on the staff here.
Mm,
And that sort of stuff then changes their minds as well. And the fact that she is like such a defiant human being is like, yeah, that you've got the balls to take on a job like this. So
yeah.
that's not for nothing. But yeah, there you go. So yeah, we're gonna leave. I think that's everything wrapped up, Aaron. I think, isn't it? I think
Mhm.
that's us done for our World Cup shenanigans. So
We're back. We're
yeah,
back to the big time. We're back to the big stuff after this.
yes,
The thing that
yeah, I
actually
absolutely.
matters.
You're dead right. Our next podcast is going to be about the League of Ireland because the real football has been going on the entire time, and we've been neglecting it so much. So yes, on our next podcast, we will be we'll be catching up with the League of Ireland, seeing what's been happening. Um, Now that the League of Ireland season is weird because the 2/3 of the season is all done by the summer. Everyone goes off on a break. Then they go into the European side of the European section of the league, where everyone in Europe plays and tries to get as much money as they can, and then the rest of them all catch up with each other. And then you have the cup section of the season, where the cup takes priority, and then it's just a sprint to the end then to November. So we're going to check in and see how everything is, and then after that we're going to be talking about the Premier League then as well, because we'll be just in time for the first match of the season, which will be Arsenal versus Coventry. So we shall see how that goes in that front. But for now, Aaron, thank you very much for jumping on. You have been you've been the load bearing podcaster for this World Cup run. Um,
Hmm.
but like I said, we all have opinions. We all like sharing them. So I think we're doing ourselves all a favor here in that sense. So
And I have a few opinions on many things.
just a few, just enough for about 2.5 hour podcasting every few
Mhm.
weeks. so with that in mind, then lads, thank you very much for listening in. Hopefully you've been enjoying our musings on the World Cup as well, and by all means, let us know down the line or in our new Discord server what you thought of the World Cup and everything in between. The link is in the bio. By all means, join us for all the conversation. So until then, until the next Liquid Football podcast, we'll see you for the next one. Good night, everybody.